Hello friends, this is Jim Das Selvas who will bring you one of the most classic scenarios of the advanced squad leader system, the Commissar's house. Two scenarios with this name were released, and both take place in the Stalingrad area in November 1942 and are characterized by urban combat and the use of elite German units, Pioneers 838, and Soviet units, Unit 628, with a high density of markers in the theater of operations. The first of these scenarios was released together with Module 1, Beyond Valour, and is Scenario 4, which was released with geomorphic maps, part of Maps 1 and 20, with an area basically made up of wooden and stone buildings very close to each other in a claustrophobic situation that will certainly lead to frequent hand-to-hand combat situations. The second appearance of this scenario occurs in Historical Module 10, Red Factories, in the form of Scenario RB10. The map of this last scenario is something in itself, as it directly references the conditions of the city of Stalingrad at the time in question, with most of its buildings reduced to rubble and the entire area filled with craters from the intense bombing suffered in recent months. On this historical map, the main landmarks are represented and will be used as references in the battle, such as the Commissar's house and the chemist's shop. Meanwhile, the waters of the nearby Volga river move gently, indifferent to the fighting and human suffering that takes place a few hundred meters from its banks. The order of battle of these two scenarios is very similar and, as previously mentioned, will feature the most cracked units on the part of the Germans, with their pioneers having a high smoke coefficient, 3 for Scenario 4 of Beyond Valour reaching up to 5 for some of the units in Scenario RB10 of Red Factories. The Soviet counterpart occurs with the participation of their version of elite troops, 6 to 8, specially trained and adapted for combat in urban areas. At this point in this battle, the German forces have reached their maximum advance and trapped the Soviet units in a small space with their backs to the Volga River in a desperate struggle to maintain the small bridgeheads west of the river. In turn, with the approach of the harsh Soviet winter, General Paulus, commander of the German 6th Army, finds himself under pressure to complete the conquest of the western part of Stalingrad to free up troops for the advance on the Caucasus. To complete this conquest, the Germans bring in pioneer forces, specialized in attacking fortified positions and counting on the smoke coefficient. They are supplied with demolition charges and flamethrowers, as well as highly competent leaders. To begin this challenge, we will begin with Scenario 4 of the Beyond Valour module, which we will explore in a little more detail. Historical context. Barrikady, Stalingrad, 9th November 1942. The 6th Army is bleeding amidst the ruins. The firepower of entire companies is reduced to the equivalent of a squad in the attempt to take a single house. The battlefront is drawn in corridors of individual buildings more often than between streets and blocks. The Germans have decided to bring specialized units to the final assault, 5 elite battalions of pioneers specially trained in urban combat, as well as veterans of the street battles of Voronezh were called to take the last outposts that stubbornly resist between the workshops of the Barrikady cannon factory and the Volga. However, Major Rettenmaier's pioneers have never seen a battle like this one for the Commissar's house. The map. As we saw before, this map is basically an urban map, where the proximity between the factions is maximum. The Soviets will start deploying their units first in hexes named 7 or less, while the Germans will deploy in hexes named 7 or higher, with the restriction that they cannot be deployed in hexes adjacent to those occupied by the Soviets. Victory conditions. The Soviets win by having one or more unit equivalent to a squad without morale broken in both buildings 20S6 or 20Z3. Special scenario conditions. 1. Environmental conditions, moderate with no wind at the start. 2. All hexes with wooden houses unique are considered rubble. 3. Fire is not available to the Soviets, but they can use sewer movement and are entitled to level 8 traps, Rule B 28.9, on map 20 and have the 20Z3 building fully fortified. In addition, they will be able to start 3 or fewer squad equivalents in hiding initial positioning, along with support weapons and an SMC that deploys with them. 4. German squads 838 and Huff squads 338 will have an ELR of 5, all other German units will have an ELR of 4. 5. Germans may inadvertently deploy adjacent to hidden Soviet units, but they cannot deploy adjacent to Soviet concealment markers. Before we go any further, let's go into detail about 2 special scenario condition provisions that Jim encounters for the first time. The first of these conditions is the existence of booby traps on map 20. Booby traps attacks occur every time an original test check occurs. If the test check result is greater than or equal to 11, the booby trap is triggered in the case of level A booby traps. A trap attack causes casualty reduction to at least 1, if any, personnel unit as determined by random selection, and not necessarily the unit on which that test check was applied at that location. Traps do not normally affect units on the side that placed them. The other interesting special condition encountered in this scenario is the fortification of the building 20Z3. Fortified buildings. A fortified building is not revealed until an enemy unit attempts to enter it, is successfully searched, or is shot at with a result that would be different due to the increased terrain modifier effect of a fortified building. The terrain effect modifier, TEM, of a fortified building location, including demolition charge attacks on a breach attempt, is 1 more than normal, +4 for a stone building and +3 for a wooden building. Entrance. Infantry may not enter a fortified building site during any phase if an armed, unpinned, and orderly enemy squad, or its equivalent, is inside. Exception, breach, Rule 23.9-21. The rules on loss of concealment, Rule 812.15, apply even if the fortified site cannot be entered. Breach. A breach may be created in a hex side of a fortified building as per Rule 23.711 or in a hex side attacked by high explosives whose dice roll on the infantry fire table would result in a kill in action. Once breached, a fortified building can be accessed from that hex side and level in the same way as any building hex. In the specific case of this scenario, the only way for the Germans to penetrate the 20Z3 fortified building will be through the use of demolition charges and obtaining a kill in action result. Remember that the terrain modifier factor for fortified buildings is +4, and if this method does not work, the Germans will have to try to reduce the units in a given fortified hex to a pinned or broken morale, or to have only one half squad remaining at that hex, at which point the Germans will be able to penetrate the building. We can imagine that flamethrowers will be essential for attacking these hexes. Another special condition of the scenario is the possibility of Soviet movement through the sewers, the details of which were previously covered in the scenario The Tractor Works. Follow the link. Unfortunately, Jim's experience with sewer movement was very unfavorable, and because of this type of movement has little chance of occurring during the evolution of the battle. Now we will present the order of battle of the Soviet forces concomitant with their disposition in the scenario. Now we will present the order of battle of the Soviet forces concomitant with their disposition in the scenario. The Soviets will deploy their troops first and will have 6 squads 6 to 8 elite, 6 squads 4 5 8 elite, 13 squads 4 4 7 first class. These units are remnants of the 138th Rifle Division and have an ELR of 3. The leaders will be 9-1, 2 leaders 8-1 and 2 leaders 8-0. They will also have 1 heavy machine gun, 2 medium machine guns, 3 light machine guns. These units will have 6 trenches and 12 concealment markers. The Soviet sniper activation number will be 6. Before we start positioning the units, let's remember that it is November 1942 and during this period the Soviets will not be able to transform their leaders into commissars. The first unit to be deployed will be a squad 447 controlling the heavy machine gun that will be positioned in a trench in the hex 20 GG2. In this position you have an excellent line of sight over the road that goes from 20 GG2 to X6, precisely the road that the German units will necessarily have to cross to try to invade the 20Z3 building, and you will be able to draw a fire lane across the entire length of this strategic area. Initially this trench will be hidden, but it will lose this condition as soon as it enters the line of sight of a German unit, as it is not in concealment terrain. These units will be covered by a concealment marker. In the second level of 20Z4 we will concentrate the medium machine guns handled by squads 448 and a leader 8-1, forming a powerful fire group with 16 firepower. This stack will receive a concealment marker. In this position you will have an excellent line of sight over the German units that approach this vital sector from the areas to the north or northeast. On the downside, these units will not be able to form a fire group with units on the lower floors as there is no communication between these units via a staircase. The squad's elite 6 to 8 will be positioned in building 20 BB6. On the first level of 20 CC7 we will have a super stack with 3 squads 6 to 8 with a leader 9-1 and a light machine gun, totaling 20 firepower to be dropped on the enemy units that venture into building E9 and BD9. On the upper floor of BD6 we will have a squad 6 to 8, another 448, a leader 8-1 and a light capture with a total of 12 firepower. These units can form a fire group with an impressive 36 firepower with the modifier of -1 since both have a leader -1. Both receive concealment markers from the pool of 12 concealment markers initially received. Squad 6 to 8 with a light machine gun in 20E5. Before going further ahead, let's do some small changes. In Hex 20Z4 we will replace the squads 448 by squads 447, which will be responsible for the medium machine gun. The 448 squad with the light machine gun in 20E5 is replaced by a 447 squad and is moved to Hex 20FF7 to avoid the deployment of German units in strategic positions in adjacent hexes. This unit is recovered by a concealment marker. Considering that one of the conditions for German units to penetrate the fortress building is that there is not at least one Soviet's equivalent squad in these hexes. Therefore, it will be necessary for the Soviets to secure the hexes on level 0 of this building with at least one squad. The option here is to place squads 6 to 8 in these strategic hexes. Considering the victory conditions of the scenario and the possibility of having 3 or less squads as concealed initially, we will post a concealed team on the second floor of building 20Z2. A trench is positioned in a concealed manner with 2 squads 447 in 20U8. On the ground level and first level of Hex 20S6 are secured by squads 447. Hidden Trench and squad 447 in 20U6. Another squad is deployed as reinforcement on the ground floor of building 20S6. The second squad to be deployed hidden will be deployed at 20R3 with the intention of advancing on the objective building at 20S6 in the final moments of the battle. Trenches are deployed at 20V6 and V7 hidden in woods. The third and final unit to be deployed hidden on the upper floor of Hex 20S6. The 8-0 leader is deployed hidden with squad 447 in 20R3. As this is a solo match, the impact of these hidden units that occurs during vis-a-vis matches is largely lost, not only strategic but also psychological, as these units are only revealed under very specific conditions such as searching and entering the hex in question. The last squad 447 is deployed next to another squad of the same type in 20U6. The last concealment markers are distributed throughout the Soviet sector just like the last trench. Let's move on to the positioning of the German forces. The German order of battle is 13 elite pioneer squads 838 of the 50th Pioneer Battalion with ELR of 5. 12 squads 467 of the 305th Infantry Division with ELR of 4. Leaders: 1 fantastic leader 10-2. 1 leader 9-2. 2 leaders 9-1. 3 leaders 8-1. 3 leaders 8-0. 1 heavy machine gun. 2 medium machine guns. 2 light machine guns. In addition, 2 flamethrowers. 6 demolition charges. The Germans' sniper activation number will be 3. The Germans will concentrate their elite units 838 together with the best leaders, the flamethrowers and the demolition charges on the right flank of their attack with the objective of reaching the vicinity of the building 20Z3 as quickly as possible. The German forces can deploy 10% of their squads into half squads, fractions rounded up. With this, at least 3 squads can be deployed into half squads. The first deployment will be made with one of the 838 squads into 338 half squads. These units will be in charge of carrying the flamethrowers. Several stacks consisting of 3838 squads, with an impressive 24 firepower, will be arranged near the front line in areas protected from the view of the Soviet units, where they will be accompanied by the Soviet leaders 10-2, 9-2 and 9-1. 3 of the demolition charges are distributed to pioneer squads of these stacks near the front line. The 3 remaining demolition charges will be placed under the guard of the 80 leaders to be used in the attack against the Soviet fortress in 20Z3. Finally, the flamethrowers are placed further to the rear and will be initially spared for later use in the assault on the objective building. On the left flank of the attack, another squad is deployed into half squads and will carry the medium machine guns and will be positioned next to a squad with the heavy machine gun and the leader 9-1 on the second floor of 2009. Stack with 3 squads and leader 8-1 in 20Q9. Another similar stack in 20S10. And a third stack is positioned in 20W10 together with 2 light machine guns. It is important to note that all German units are positioned to be out of the Soviet line of sight and will be able to gain concealment markers at the end of the deployment. Finally, we will position the Soviet sniper and the German sniper. Before concluding this introduction, we did a little research in the ROR, Remote Online Automatic Record, archives for this scenario, and what we found is that this scenario is very balanced, and for the 324 games computed, 164 were won by the Soviets and 160 by the Germans. On the ASL Archives website, of the 68 games computed, 35 were German victories while 33 were Soviet victories. With this sample we can get an idea of how tight this battle will be, with both sides having very equal chances of victory. The aftermath. Although 18 pioneers were killed by a booby trap before the attack even began, one of the strongholds to be attacked, the chemical workshop, fell easily. On the other hand, the Commissar's house proved to be a veritable death trap. The red brick structure was transformed into a fortress, with every opening filled with rubble, leaving the Russian defenders with barely visible openings through which they could fire with deadly accuracy. Even after the Germans invaded the house, the Russians refused to surrender, resisting in the basement. Only explosive charges and petrol cans brought an end to the brave defenders of the Commissar's house. However, it was a Pyrrhic victory. The combat engineers who managed to reach the banks of the Volga were decimated. In just 4 days, the elite battalions lost a third of their strength, and the remnants were withdrawn to form a more effective combat group for the assaults yet to come. Very well, friends, with the presentation of the map, the conditions involved in the scenario and the disposition of the units on the map, let's end this episode and prepare for the first round of this battle in this classic scenario from the Advanced Squad Leader universe. See you soon. Namaste. Rally phase. Germans phase of the first turn. Wind change. 4-1 no wind change. Prep fire phase. No actions. Movement phase. Upper floor of 2009 to upper floor of P8. 20S10 to S9 in assault movement. 2009 to R8 in assault movement. 20V10 to V9 in assault movement. Leader 8-1 accompanied by a squad 447 move from 20W10 to W9 in assault movement. For a minute the Soviets thought about making an attack from 20W7 that would be made with 12 firepower reduced by half, concealed target, +3, stone building, -1, Soviet leader, with a final attack of 6+2. With this probability, the Soviets choose not to attack and keep the concealment marker. Taking advantage of the lack of Soviet reaction, the Germans take advantage and advance with the rest of their forces in 20W10 to hex W9 in assault movement. Leader 10-2 accompanied by a squad 838 move from 20CC10 to CC9 in assault movement. In this hex they will suffer an attack from 20CC7 with 18 firepower, intrinsic firepower of Soviet squads, reduced by half, concealed target, +3, stone building, -1, leader, with an attack of 8 firepower +2. 7+2, 9, pin test check. German units lose the concealment marker. In this scenario, the pin test check becomes very dangerous as it can trigger an attack by the booby traps if the result of the dice is greater than or equal to 11. 9. The leader passes. 2-2, leader, 0, the squad also passes. Leader 9-2 and a squad 838 move from 20 BB9 to BB8 in assault movement. In this hex they suffer a subsequent first fire from the Soviet stack at 20 W7 with 18 firepower halved, subsequent first fire and halved again, concealed target, with 4 firepower from the squad's +2, wooden building, -1 leader. 11+1, 12, unsuccessful. Stacking with 2 squads of 20 CC10 for DD9 in assault movement. In this hex it suffers an attack from the Soviet stacking at 20 DD5 with 12 firepower reduced by half, concealed target, +2, wooden house, -1, Soviet leader. 5+1, 6, to morale check, the Germans lose the concealment markers, and the machine gun loses its rate of fire. 6+2, 8, the first squad is pinned with the possibility of activating the Soviet sniper. 9+2, 11, the second squad breaks. 2. The Soviet minor sniper is activated. 4. 5. The hex to be attacked will be chosen randomly between hexes 20 DD9, CC9 or BB8. The hex to be attacked will be 20 BB8. In this hex, the leader is chosen randomly and suffers a wound and reduction in quality to 8-1. This wound could prove to be fatal in case of a dice roll of 5 or 6. 3. The wound is not fatal. Super stacking at 20 FF9 moves to FF8 in assault movement. In this hex it suffers an attack from 20 FF7 with 6 firepower doubled to 12, point blank, and halved to 6, concealed target, +3, stone house. 10+3, 13, unsuccessfully, and the machine gun loses its rate of fire. Subsequent first fire with 2 firepower +3. 10+3, 13, unsuccessfully. Stacking from 1 FF1 moves to 20 FF10 in assault movement. 20 BB9 to CC10. 20 DD10 to CC10. Defensive fire phase. No actions. Advancing fire phase. Stacking at 20 FF8 will fire on the Soviets at FF7 with 30 firepower, 15 firepower from the squads using assault fire, doubled because it is a point-blank shot, plus 3, Stonehouse, minus 1, leader. 5 plus 2, 7, 4 morale check. 7 plus 4, 11, morale is broken above the ELR and becomes a 4 to 6 conscript squad with broken morale. Firing from a fire group formed by units in 20 BB8 and CC9 on the Soviet stack in CC7 with 8 firepower minus 1, German leader, plus 3, Stonehouse. 4 plus 2, 6, 1 morale check. And, surprisingly, all Soviet units have their morale broken. Firing from the mega stack with machine guns on the Soviets in 20 U7 with 21 firepower reduced by half due to being in the advancing phase, reduced by half again, concealed target, with 4 firepower plus 1, Woods, minus 1, leader. 4. As it will be necessary to use the TEM of the trench, this leaves the concealed condition. The calculation of the modifiers will be plus 2, trench, minus 1 leader. The squads lose the marker concealment and the machine guns maintain their rate of fire. 4 plus 1, 5, 1 morale check. Both squads have their morale broken. Subsequent first fire with 8 firepower plus 2, trench, minus 1, leader. 8 plus 1, 9, this would be a pin test check. It will not be necessary to roll the dice to evaluate the test check since both units already have their morale broken and will not suffer the effects of the pin. The machine guns lose their rate of fire. Rout phase. 20 DD9 to CC9. 20 CC7 to DD4. 20 FF7 to E5. 20 U7 to W5. Advance phase. 20 FF8 to FF7. 20 E10 to E9. The flamethrowers at 20 CC10 to CC9. Remainder of the units at 20 CC10 to DD9. 20 V9 to the bridge at U9. 20 S9 to the bridge at T8. 20 R8 to the ravine in R7. Close combat phase. No actions. Rally phase Soviet turn 1. Wind change, 8 no wind change. Soviet units auto-rally attempt on 20 W5 with auto-rally modifiers, plus 1, DAIM marker, plus 4, concealment terrain, minus 1. 7 plus 4, 11, morale is not recovered and the DAIM marker is removed. Leaders auto-rally attempt on 20 DD4 with modifiers of plus 1, auto-rally, plus 4, DAIM, minus 1, building. 3 plus 4, 7, and the leader recovers morale and will assist in the squad's morale recovery attempt in the same hex. Squads do not recover morale, and the second squad suffers a reduction in its number, becoming half squad. German squads rally attempt on 20 CC9 with modifiers of plus 4, DAIM, minus 2, German leader, minus 1, building. 8 plus 1, 9, morale is not recovered, and the DAIM marker is removed. Prep fire phase. No actions. Movement phase. Stacking from the upper floor of 20 DD6 to the lower floor in assault movement. In this hex, The German stack at 20 FF7 suffers a massive attack with 24 firepower and the modifiers of +3, stone building, -1, leader. 7 + 2, 9, to morale check. The Soviet leader's morale is broken and both squads are pinned. Despite the unfavorable outcome for the Soviets, with this last movement, this stack is out of the firing line of the German super stacks at 20 CC9 and DD9. 20 W7 to W6. 20 U6 to V6. Advancing fire phase. No actions. Rout phase. Soviet leader at 20 DD6 to DD4. Advance phase. 20 S6 to R6. 20 V6 to under the trench at U7. 20 W6 to W7. Close combat phase. No actions. Rally phase. Germans turn 2. Wind change, 9, no wind change. Squad 20 CC9 attempts to rally with the help of leader 10-2. The modifiers will be -2, leader, -1, building. 3-3, 0, morale is restored. Squads in 20 W5 attempt to recover morale with the help of leader 8-0 with the modifier of -1 for the building. Both squads recover morale. Soviet leader in 20 DD4 attempts to recover morale with the help of leader 9-1. The modifiers will be -1, leader, -1, building, +4, DN. 7 + 2, 9, morale is not recovered, and the DN marker is removed. Now the 3 squads will attempt to recover morale with the modifiers of -1, leader, -1, building. The 3 squads recover morale. Prep fire phase. Super squad in 20 FF7 makes an attack on the Soviets at CC6 with 24 firepower. The modifiers will be +3, stone house, -1, German leader. 12, no effect. Firing from the stack at 20 W7 on the Soviets at W5 with 18 firepower reduced to 8, concealed targets, +3, stone house, -1, German leader. 5 + 2, 7, normal morale check, the Soviets lose the concealment marker and the machine guns lose their rate of fire. All units have their morale broken, and one of the squads suffers a reduction due to casualties and suffers a reduction in quality due to a dice result of 12. German stack at the gully at 20 R7 gives up the concealment markers and fires on the Soviets at R6 with 12 firepower doubled to 24 due to being shot at point-blank range, halved again due to the targeted units being concealed. The modifiers will be +2, wooden house, -1, leader. 9 + 1, 10, which would be a pin test check that Jim ignores. Firing from 20 P8 with the medium and heavy machine guns and the squad's intrinsic firepower will fire on U7 with 8 firepower, concealed target, -1, leader, +2, trench. 5.2, 7 + 1, 8, normal morale check and the machine guns lose their rate of fire. One of the squads should be pinned, which Jim ignores, and the squads lose the concealment marker. Movement phase. Squad 20 BB8 will attempt to launch a smoke grenade on hex CC8 requiring 3 or less on the result of 1 die to succeed. 1. Success and a smoke grenade is deposited on the hex. This smoke will remain in this position until the end of the movement phase. This stack advances to hex 20 CC7. In this hex it suffers an attack from the Soviets in 20 DD6 with 12 firepower doubled to 24, point blank target, with the modifier of +3, stone house. 10 +3, 13, pin test check, and the machine gun loses its rate of fire. The German units pass and the traps are not triggered. For this to happen, a dice result of 11 or 12 would be necessary. For a change, Jim considers that the German squad was pinned, harming the Germans. Leader 10-2 accompanied by 2 squads advance to 20 cc8 in assault movement. In this hex, he suffers an attack from the Soviet stack on the second level of 20 Z4 with 16 firepower. The modifiers will be +2, smoke, -1, leader. 10 +1, 11, pin test check, and the machine guns lose their rate of fire. Jim disregards the pin test check and performs an illegal subsequent first fire from the Soviets under first defensive fire in 20 DD6. These units could not fire this shot because the subsequent first fire can only happen on the units closest to the attacker, which in this case are the Germans in 20 cc7. In any case, the shot will be made with 10 firepower reduced by half, subsequent first fire, and the machine gun has lost its rate of fire. The shot will be 4 firepower +2, smoke. 9 +2, 11, with no effect. 20 cc9 for BB7. In this hex, a subsequent first fire, now legal, is fired from the squad at the second level of 20 Z4 with 1 firepower, concealed target, and subsequent first fire, -2, FFMO, FFNAM, -1, leader. 5 -3, 2, 1 morale check with the units losing the concealment marker. The first half squad passes, and the second is pinned. 20 E9 moves to GG7. 20 U9 to U8 in assault movement. In this hex, a shot is fired from 20 U7 with 8 firepower, concealed target, and point blank shot, +3, stone house. 5 +3, 8, normal morale check. 5, the German squad passes. Subsequent first fire with 8 firepower, subsequent first fire and point blank shot, +3. 5 +3, 8, normal morale check. 12. With this result, the Germans suffer a reduction in casualty and a reduction in quality due to their morale being broken above ELR. 20 T8 to S8 in assault movement. Defensive fire phase. German squads at 20 R6 give up the concealment marker and will fire on the Soviets in the gully at R7 with 16 firepower. 9, 1 morale check. 8 +1, 9, the leader has his morale broken. The first and second squads break. The third squad passes. Firing from 20 DD4. In this case, we have units without the concealment marker and units with this marker. These units will be attacked differently. Units without the concealment marker will be attacked with 20 firepower +3, stone house, -1, leader. The 8-0 leader, under the concealment marker, will be attacked with 8 firepower and the same modifiers. 5 +2, 7, 2 morale check for the units without the concealment marker and normal morale check for the 8-0 leader who will lose the concealment marker. The 3 squads morale broken. Advancing fire phase. Fire from 20 cc8 on D6 with 8 firepower +3, stone house, -2, leader. 5 +1, 6, 1 morale check. Both Soviet squads pass. Fire from 20 cc7 on DD6 with original 8 firepower halved, pin 4, halved again by advancing fire 2. Since these units have assault fire capability, 1 is added to the original to resulting in 3, resulting in an attack with 6 firepower, point-blank fire, plus 3, stone house, minus 1, leader. 8 plus 2, 10, unsuccessful. Rout phase. Stacking at 20 FF7 to FF8 accompanied by leader 9 minus 1. 20 R7 to Q9. 20 U8 into the gully at T8. Stacking at 20 FF7, one of the Soviet squads in 20 W7 moves to W5 while the remaining 2 squads move to X4 to avoid breaking the stacking limits at W5. Advance phase. 20 BB7 to BB6. 20 CC8 to CC7. 20 DD9 to E9. 20 GG7 to FF6. Leader at 20 S8 to T8. Remainder of squads at S7 penetrating one of the German objectives. 20 R7 to R6 entering close combat. Close combat phase. Units at 20 R6 are in close combat. Ambush is possible, in this case without modifiers. Germans to Soviets 3, no ambush. The Germans will attack one of the Soviet units with a 1-to-1 ratio, needing a 5 or less to affect the Soviet squad. The Soviets will attack the Germans with a 2-to-1 ratio, needing a 7 or less to affect the Germans. Germans and Soviets roll a 9, and the units are unaffected and enter melee. Rally phase. Soviet turn 2. Wind change. 5. No wind change. Soviet leader rally attempt in 20 DD4 with the help of leader 9-1 with the modifiers -1, leader, -1, building. 7-2, 5, the leader recovers morale. Soviet squad attempt auto rally in 20, X4, with the modifiers +4, this squad should be under the DM marker, +1, auto rally, -1, building. 6 + 4, 10, the squad should not have its morale recovered, but Jim gets it wrong and benefits the Soviets. Squad rally attempt in 20 W5 with the modifiers +4, DAIM, -1, leader, -1, building. 8 + 2, 10, the unit does not recover morale and the DAIM marker is removed. Squad rally attempt in 20 FF8 with the modifiers +4, DAIM, -1, leader, -1, building. 2 of the squads recover morale and 1 remains with broken morale. German leaders attempt at an auto rally in 20 Q9 with modifiers of +4, DAIM, -1, woods. 6 + 3, 9, the leader does not recover morale. Soviet squads attempt at a rally in 20 Q8 with modifiers of +4, DAIM, -1, leader. 8 + 3, 11, unsuccessful. Prep fire phase. Firing from 20 Z4 with 16 firepower on the German half squad carrying the flamethrower. The modifiers will be -1, leader, -1, flamethrower. 6 - 2, 4, in the 16 firepower column it is a reduction due to casualties which would determine the elimination of the German half squad, and the heavy machine gun maintains its rate of fire, but Jim interprets it only as a break of morale. Movement phase. 2 squads at level 0 in 20 A4 move up to level 1. The Soviets give up on an advanced defense in the objective area at 20 Z3 and move the main stack in the sector at CC4 to A4. These units will be better protected by the walls of the fortress that has become the Commissar's house, with its terrain modifier of +4. Leader 8-1 is left behind to assist the Soviet units that will make the fighting withdrawal from the front line. Squads at 20 W5 to the trench at V6. Squad 458 at 20 times 4 to trench at V5. Leader 8-1 from 20 DD4 to E4. Soviet stack moves from 20 DD6 to DD5 in assault movement. The German stack at 20 CC7 assesses the possibility of firing on the Soviets that have moved and checks the line of sight. Upon realizing that this line of sight is non-existent, this stack loses the opportunity to attack and receives the final fire marker. Firing from 20 FF6 on the Soviets in DD5 with 24 firepower and the modifier of +3, stone building. 4 + 3, 7, 3 morale check. Both squads break, with squad 6 to 8 also suffering a reduction in its quality because it broke above the ELR. Subsequent first fire with 12 firepower +3. 9 + 3, 12, unsuccessful. Defensive fire phase. Units in 20S7 give up their concealment markers and fire on the melee units in Hex R6 with 24 firepower +2, wooden house. 10 + 2, 12, normal morale check. All melee units have their morale broken. Stacking further, with the machine guns in 20P8 fire on the Soviets in the trench in V6 with 20 firepower +2, trench, -1, leader. 5 + 1, 6, 3 morale checks and the heavy machine gun maintains its rate of fire. Advancing fire phase. No actions. Rout phase. 20 BB7 to BB6. 20 DD5 to E4. 20 U7 to W5. Advance phase. 20 V6 to W7. 20 V5 to V6. Close combat phase. The Soviet units that were in melee at 20 R6 move under the bridge in the gully at Q6. The German unit previously in melee does not need to move. With the end of this turn we will evaluate which units are out of the enemy's line of sight and qualify to gain concealment markers. It is worth noting in this process that the Soviet units at 20 Z4 and the German forces at W9 do not qualify for concealment recovery because they both have reciprocal line of sight, and with this we end these first two turns of this scenario. Alright friends, at this point, at the end of the second turn, we will end this episode. The Soviets' plans to slow the German advance failed completely, at least in the right sector of their defense, with German units taking the objective building at 20S6 where they will search for and eliminate the units hidden there, as is the case at level 1 of Hex S6. Since there is no need to hold both objectives to win this game, the Soviets will probably focus all their energy on holding the 20Z3 fortress, where the thick walls, with the dice roll modifier of +4, will make conquering this objective very costly for the Germans. The Germans, in turn, have extremely powerful units equipped with tools that will make this task much easier, which are demolition charges, flamethrowers, and the no less important smoke grenades. See you in the next episode. Namaste. Rally phase, German phase of the third round. Wind change, 6, no wind change. German squads attempt at an auto rally in 20 R6 with the modifiers of +1, auto rally, +4, DAIM, -1, building. 9 + 4, 13, the unit does not recover morale. The question in this case is whether the DN marker remains or will be removed, since the German squad is adjacent to Soviet units with broken morale in 20Q6. Reading the rulebook, Rule A10.62 tells us that a unit with broken morale receives the DN marker whenever it is adjacent to a known and armed enemy unit, a definition met by the Soviets in an adjacent hex. Therefore, the DN marker is kept because this unit is adjacent to known Soviet units, even if with broken morale, in 20Q6. Soviet squads attempt at a rally in 20FF8 with the help of the leader 9-1. The modifiers will be -1, leader, -1, building. 12 morale is not recovered, and the unit suffers a casualty reduction, becoming a half squad. Half squad rally attempt in 20Q8 with modifiers of -1, leader, -1, building. 12. The half squad is eliminated. Soviet leaders auto-rally attempt in 20Q9 with modifiers of +1, auto-rally, -1, forest. 10. The leader does not recover morale. Soviet units rally attempt in 20W5. In this case, Jim is wrong, because one of the units with a broken morale of 8 is not under the DN marker. The modifiers will be -1, building, for this squad and +4, DN, for the squads with a morale of 7. 9-1, 8, the squad with a morale of 8 will recover morale. 7 + 3, 10, the second squad remains with broken morale. 6 + 3, 9, the other squad remains with broken morale and the DN marker is removed. This error will be corrected in the Soviet phase of the third term. Jim forgets to perform the rally attempt at 20E6 and will perform this action, which may be considered illegal later. Prep fire phase. Firing from 20W9 on the Soviets at W7 with 20 firepower. The modifiers will be +3, Stonehouse, -1, German leader. 8 + 2, 10, 1 morale check, and the machine guns lose their rate of fire. 6 + 1, 7, the first squad is pinned. 9 + 1, 10, the second squad has broken morale. Jim makes a mistake and considers both units as having broken morale. Firing from the units with the medium and heavy machine guns on the second level of 20P8 will fire on the Soviets on the second level of Z410 hexes away, with 16 firepower. The modifiers will be +3, Stonehouse, -1, German leader. 5 + 2, 7, 2 morale checks and the machine guns lose their firing rate. 5 + 2, 7, the Soviet leader passes and will assist the half squads in their respective morale tests. 5 + 1, 6, the first half squad passes. 7 + 1, 8, the second half squad has its morale broken. In this prep fire phase, one of the German units in 20S7 will perform the mopping up, Rule A12.153, of Building S6. To do this, it will announce this action and be positioned under the TI marker. With this, the Soviet unit on the upper floor in 20S6 is required to be positioned on the board under the concealment marker. After this event, the presence of an armed enemy unit in good order, or, as in this case, even if the Soviets did not have a unit with these characteristics, the fact that they had the ability to traps will imply the need to analyze the possibility of casualties related to the mopping up activity. To do so, a die will be rolled and if the result is less than or equal to 1, one of the German units will suffer a casualty reduction. The modifier in this case will be -1 because more than one half squad carried out the mopping up activity. 5 - 1, 4, there is no casualty reduction. Movement phase. At this moment, in an illegal action, Jim checks whether the Soviet units recover morale in 20E4 with the help of the Soviet leader. 5 plus 2, 7, both units recover morale. Leader wounded 8 minus 1 in 20cc7 moves to BB6. The remainder of the stack at 20cc7 moves to DD5. The question in this case is whether the German units lose the concealment marker. Let's consult the concealment table related to Rule A12.121 that governs this issue. These German units move under line of sight within 16 hexes of the Soviets in good order at 20E4 to a concealment terrain, falling under Rule A. This rule implies that the loss of the concealment marker will occur because these units entered this hex in non-assault movement. In this hex it suffers an attack from the Soviets at 20E4 with 8 firepower plus 3, stone house, minus 1, Soviet leader. 9 plus 2, 11, without success. Subsequent first fire with 6 firepower, machine gun plus intrinsic firepower of the squads, plus 3, stone house. 11 plus 3, 14, without success, and the machine gun becomes malfunctioning. Leader 8-0 and a squad 8-3-8 move from 20 FF6 to GG5. In this hex it suffers an attack from the Soviets on the second level at 20 Z4 with 6 firepower minus 3, FFMO, FFNAM and Soviet leader. The German units lose the concealment marker. 6 minus 3, 3. Casualty reduction of one of the units to be chosen randomly and to morale check, with the machine gun maintaining the rate of fire. The chosen unit is the squad that becomes a half squad. 7 plus 2, 9, the leader's morale is broken. 3 plus 2, 5, the half squad passes. The half squad moves to 20 GG5. In this hex it suffers an attack with the rate of fire of the Soviet machine gun with 4 firepower minus 2, Soviet leader and FFNAM, plus 1, Woods. When evaluating the line of sight better, it crosses the edge of the building in 20A4 and although the application's line of sight assessment tool shows that there is no intersection at this point, visually this occurs and Jim considers it this way and does not fire, implying the loss of the machine gun's rate of fire. A dice roll is performed to check for the possibility of a machine gun malfunction. 10. The machine gun remains functional. Firing from the entrenched unit at 20 GG2 with 8 firepower plus 1, Wood minus 1, FFNAM. 10. Unsuccessful and the machine gun loses its rate of fire. Subsequent first fire with 2 firepower without modifiers. 3. 1 morale check and possible activation of the German sniper. 9 plus 1, 10, the half squad breaks. 4. The German sniper is not activated. Half squad with the flamethrower at 20 BB6 to CC6. Stacking at 20 FF6 to CC6 in dash movement. This stack should lose the fire marker concealment due to crossing the Soviets' line of sight at 20 GG2. 20 FF7 to FF6 in assault movement. This unit should not lose the concealment marker since they moved into concealment terrain in assault movement. 2 squads in 20 FF8 move to DD7 losing the concealment marker. Stacking from 20 E9 to DD6. Lower floor from 20 S7 to upper floor in assault movement. The Soviets think about firing on the German units and give up. 20 S7 to S6 in assault movement. Leader to 20 T8 to S7. Defensive fire phase. No actions. Advancing fire phase. Stacking at 20 DD5 fires on E4 with 12 firepower, assault fire. The modifiers will be +3, Stonehouse, -2, German leader. 7 + 1, 8, 1 morale check. 9 + 1, 10, the leader breaks. 6 + 1, 7, the first squad is pinged. 9 + 1, 10, the second squad also breaks. Rout phase. 20 GG4 to FF6. When evaluating this movement, the Germans enter the line of sight of the Soviets in good order at 20 GG2, which would imply the interdiction of this leader. In this way, this leader moves in low crawl to 20 GG6. 20 GG4 to GG5 in low crawl. 20 R6 to S7. Soviets in 20 E4 to CC2. 20 E5 to E4. 20 W7 to X4. 20 Q6 to R3 bypassing R4 Q5. Advance phase. Upper floor of 20 S7 to upper floor of S6 entering close combat. Lower floor of 20 S6 to upper floor. 20 DD5 to E5. 20 DD6 to DD5. 20 DD7 to DD6. Part of the stacking in 20 BB6 to A6. Let's remember that this stacking has lost its morale, which will be fixed in the next phase. 20 W9 to W8. Close combat phase. Ambush assessment with the -2 modifiers for both Soviets and Germans. Germans 2, Soviets 5, no ambush. The Germans will attack the Soviets at a 2-to-1 ratio, needing 7 or less to affect the Soviets. The Soviets will attack one of the German squads with a ratio of 1-to-1, requiring 5 or less to affect the Germans. Germans 5, the Soviet squad is eliminated. Soviets 7, the Germans are not affected. At the end of this turn, the German units in 20 DD6 gain the concealment marker. The possible lines of sight to the other units are assessed, and none meet the prerequisites to gain the concealment marker. Rally phase. Soviet phase of the third round. Wind change 11, no wind changes. Soviet squad auto-rally attempt at 20 × 4 with modifiers of +1, auto-rally, -1, building. 6. Half squad morale is restored. Leader auto-rally attempt at 20 CC2 with modifiers of +1, auto-rally, -1, building, +4, de-aim. 8 + 4, 12, morale is not restored, and the de-aim marker is removed. Squad rally attempt at the second level of 20 Z4 with modifiers of -1, leader, -1, building, +4 de-aim. 4 + 2, 6, squad recovers morale. Squad rally attempt at 20 W5 with modifiers of -1, leader, -1, building. Both squads recover morale. These units are not entitled to the concealment marker. Attempt to rally squads in 20 R3 with the help of the hidden leader with the modifiers -1, building, +4, de-aim. The squads do not recover morale, and the de-aim marker is eliminated. Now let's go to the Germans. Squad in 20 FF8 will try to recover morale with the markers -1, leader, -1, building. 5-2, 3, morale is recovered. Half squad rally attempt in 20 BB6 with the modifiers -1, leader, -1, building. 10-2, 8, morale is not recovered. German squad rally attempt in 20 W7 with the modifiers +4, Diane, -1, leader, -1, building. 6+2, 8, morale is not recovered, and the Diane marker is eliminated. German leaders auto-rally attempt in 20 Q9 with the modifiers of -1, forest, +1, auto-rally. 2. The leader recovers morale and will assist the squads in morale tests with the modifiers of -2, forest and leader. All squads recover morale. Attempt to restore the functioning of the Soviet light machine gun in 20 E4. 4. The functioning is not restored. Prep fire phase. Heavy machine gun in 20 GG2 fires on the Germans in W8 with 6 firepower without modifiers. 10. Unsuccessfully, and the machine gun loses its rate of fire. Firing from the second level of 20 Z4 fires on the units in A6 with 16 firepower. The modifiers will be -1, leader, +2, wooden house. 8+1, 9, 1 morale check, and the machine guns lose their rate of fire. The leader passes, one of the squads breaks, and the other becomes pinged. Firing from the lower level of 20 A4 with 20 firepower -1, leader, +2, wooden house. 3+1, 4. A casualty reduction and 4 morale checks with possible activation of the German sniper. The random choice falls on the previously broken squad that is reduced to half squad. The leader breaks at the 4 morale check. The second squad has its morale broken above the ELR and would have its quality reduced. However, this pioneer unit cannot have its quality reduced and only has its morale broken. The third squad passes. The squads should be subjected to the so-called leader loss task check due to the leader's break, but both already have their morale broken and this task check would have no effect. Jim forgets to evaluate the activation of the German sniper. Firing from level 1 of Hex 20 A4 with 16 firepower +2, wooden house. 7+2, 9, 1 morale check. The leader passes, the second squad breaks again and becomes half squad, and the third squad passes and there is a possible activation of the Soviet sniper. 5. Soviet sniper is not activated. Movement phase. Squad and half squad in 20 × 4 move to Z3. Squads in 20 W5 move to Z3 making an illegal overstacking. This will be corrected in the next advance phase. Leader from 20 W5 to X4. 20 V6 to V3, which is wrong because with 4 movement factors, this unit could only reach V4, and to get around this issue we will transform this unit into CX in the next phase. Squad with the malfunctioning machine gun in 20 E4 moves to DD2. Defensive fire phase. Firing from 20 E5 on E4 with 36 firepower -1, leader, +3, stone house. 10+2, 12, 1 morale check. 8+1, 9, the half squad breaks again and is eliminated. Advancing fire phase. No actions. Rout phase. 20 A6 to BB6. 20 GG6 to FF6. 20 GG5 to FF6. Advance phase. Stacking at A4 to second level. Leader 9-1 and a squad 6 to 8 with the LMG from level 0 to level 1 of this hex. Squad 4-5-8 from 20Z3 to A4. Squad 6 to 8 at level 0 of 20Z4 moves up to first level. Squads at 20Z3 to Z4. Half squad at 20Z3 to A3. 20V3 to V2. Close combat phase. There is no close combat and the possibilities of gaining concealment by the units on the ground are evaluated. And we move to the rally phase, German 4th turn. Alright friends, at this point we are going to end this video where some news occurred regarding the dynamics of the advanced squad leader game, where we were presented with the searching mopping up and searching casualties actions that occurred in the prep fire phase of the German phase of the 3rd turn, which culminated in the discovery of the Soviet unit hidden in the building in 20S6 that occasionally led to the conquest of this objective. The Soviet forces are regrouping their forces around the fortress in 20Z3, the Germans' next objective, while they will keep some units close to the building in 20S6 to attempt an eventual attack in the final turns. The German forces, in turn, have suffered some setbacks and have already lost 2.5 squads, while the Soviets have lost 2 squads and had a leader injured, 9- to reduced to 8-1, even before facing the brutal 10 of 4 more from the Soviet fortress, which will be a tough nut to crack. Eagerly waiting to count on your audience in the next episode, I say goodbye. Namaste. Hello friends, welcome to the 4th round of this battle for the conquest of the Commissar's house in Stalingrad in the winter of 1942. The forces of both sides have already demonstrated their preparatory tactics for the brutal final clash around the German fortress in 20Z3. The Soviets have already brought in a large part of their forces and at this moment are concentrating them on various levels within the fortress and its surroundings. The Germans, after the easy victory in the conquest of the chemical shop building in 20S6, are rallying their units in this area to try to eliminate the last pockets of resistance in the sector so that they can direct the units concentrated there to try to open a new front from the east. The large concentration of elite German units is located north of the Commissar's house, and at this moment, they are organizing themselves to be able to direct their efforts towards the objective. This attack must necessarily be coordinated because, as we saw in the 3rd round, the attack by isolated formations on the Soviet fortress, which has enormous firepower concentrated there, is doomed to failure. In this turn, the Germans' priority is to eliminate pockets of resistance on the outskirts of the Soviet stronghold and, if possible, gain the important concealment marker in the same process. After this introduction, let's get to the battle. Rally phase, German phase of the 4th turn. Wind change, 10, no wind change. German units rally attempt. No German units with multiple men qualify for auto-rally, and we will start the German units rally attempt at 20 FF6. These units will be supported by the leader 8-0. The modifiers will be +4, the aim, -1, building. 7 + 3, 10, the leader does not recover morale. 4 + 3, 7, the half squad recovers morale. The DAIM marker is removed and a stacking reorganization is performed. Units rally attempt at hex 20 VB6. These units will be supported by the leader 80 with the modifiers of +4 for units under the DN marker, -2, leader and building. 9-2, 7, the half squad recovers morale. 7 + 2, 9, the German leader does not recover morale. 4 + 2, 6, both half squads recover morale. These units were broken and therefore do not have the right to concealment, whose markers are removed as well as the DN markers. Attempted rally by the Soviet squad in 20s7 with the modifiers of -1, German leader, -1, building. 7-2, 5, the squad recovers morale. Let's go to the Soviets. Attempted rally by the squad in 20x4 with the modifier of -1, building. 9-1, 8, morale is not recovered. Hex 20R3 with the modifier of -1, building. One of the squads recovers morale. Attempted auto-rally by the Soviet leader in 20cc2 with the modifiers of +1, auto-rally, -1, building. 8. The leader regains morale and will assist the squad to regain morale with the modifiers -1, building, -1, leader. 7-2, 5, the squad regains morale. Attempt to regain light machine gun function at 20 dd to requiring 1 for success. 1. Success. Prep fire phase. Stacking with the leader 10-2 at 20 E5 will fire on the Soviets entrenched at GG2 with 24 firepower reduced by half due to the target being beyond the ideal range of the German units. The modifiers will be +2, trench, -2, leader. 11. Unsuccessful. Movement phase. Squads on the upper floor of 20s6 move to Hex R5. Leader 8-1 and a squad, both under the concealment marker, move from 20s7 to R5. Stacking at 20 Q9 moves to the gully at Q7. Stack with the leader 9-1 and the machine guns move from the upper deck of 20 P8 to Q9. The Germans will try to move towards a situation where they can take the all-important concealment markers. Stack at 20 W8 moves to W7. Half squad with the flamethrower moves from 20 CC6 to BB6. Let's analyze the situation of the German units in Hex 20 FF6. In this hex we have a leader carrying a demolition charge. The Germans want this leader to remain in this hex to help recover the morale of the other German leader whose morale has been broken. There is still a half squad stationed there, and the idea is for this half squad to take control of the demolition charge and move towards Hex 20 DD6. Normally, the free and direct transfer of support weapons can only be done in the rally advance phases, Rule A4.431. To evaluate the possibilities for changing the user of the support weapon outside of these phases, let's consult the rulebook and see what we can do. Support weapons can be abandoned by their users during the movement phase, at no cost in terms of movement factors, Rule A4.431. If this abandonment is done before the expenditure of movement factors, this weapon is considered, these weapons are considered as not possessed and can be recovered. To recover an abandoned weapon, it is necessary to spend 1 movement factor and obtain a result on the roll of 1 die less than 6. In jungle situations, a modifier of +1 is added to the result of the dice, Rule 4.44. Hypothetically, once the demolition charge is recovered, the half squad will head to 20 DD6. In this movement, it will enter the sights of the dangerous Soviet heavy machine gun at 20 GG2 with the modifier of -2, which will be extremely dangerous. To prevent this from happening, one of the squads at 20 DD6 will try to launch a smoke grenade at hex E6, minimizing the risks in the future movement of the half squad with the demolition charge. 3. The smoke marker is successfully deposited in hex 20 E6. The German leader, in turn, abandoned the demolition charge and ceases his participation in this phase. The half squad will try to recover the demolition charge using one-factor movement and requiring a die result lower than 6. 5. The demolition charge is recovered by the half squad that crosses hex 20 E7 to enter the desired hex, DD6, after a long and complicated process. The Soviets with the heavy machine gun choose not to fire on the movement of the German half squad during the passage through hex 20 E7. Movement of the German units from 20 FF8 to DD6. Defensive fire phase. Fire of the stack with the medium machine guns in 20 Z4 against the German units in R5 with 12 firepower with the modifiers of -1, leader, +1, hindrance through the hex with orchard in S5. If successful, the German units under the concealment marker will be attacked with 6 firepower. 12 without success and the machine guns become malfunctioning, with a bad result for the Soviets. Squad with the heavy machine gun in 20 GG2 fires a shot on the German pileup in E5 with 8 firepower +2, wooden house. 1 3 4 +2 6 1 morale check and the machine gun maintains the rate of fire. 4 +1 5 the leader passes and will assist in the morale test of the squads in the same hex. The second squad is pinned and there is a possible activation of the Soviet sniper. The rest of the squads pass the test. New shot using the rate of fire with 6 firepower +2. 3 2 5 +2 7 normal morale check. With 4 the German leader passes again and, with the result of 1-1, the second squad activates the heat of battle event. There is still a new possible activation of the Soviet sniper and the third squad should have its morale broken but Jim considers it only as pinned. Let's evaluate what will happen to the German squad that obtained the result of 1-1 in the morale test assessment and will trigger the heat of battle event. The modifier when the dice are rolled it will be -1 because the Germans are considered elite. 3 -1 2 a leader is created as well as the battle hardening event. Hero 149 is deposited on the ground and the German squad that is already elite becomes fanatic. New shot using the machine gun's rate of fire with 6 firepower +2. 1 5 6 +2 8 pin test check and the machine gun maintains the rate of fire. Let's check the activation of the Soviet sniper. 2 the minus sniper is activated. The unit to be attacked by the sniper will be chosen among the units in the stack at 20 BB6. The half squad is attacked and becomes pinned. New possibility of activating the Soviet sniper, 5, unsuccessful. New shot using the machine gun's rate of fire with 6 firepower +2. 1 2 3 +2 5 to morale check and the machine gun maintains the rate of fire and there is a possible activation of the German sniper. 11 +1 12 the German leader breaks. 7 +1 8 the hero passes. The next two squads break but Jim considers the fanatic squad as pinned. And the third squad passes. Attempt to activate the Soviet sniper, 6, without success. New shot using the rate of fire of the Soviet heavy machine gun with 6 firepower +2. 3 4 7 +2 9, without success and the machine gun maintains the rate of fire. And we go to the incredible fifth shot using the rate of fire of the heavy machine gun. 4, 6, 10, plus 2, 12, without success, and finally the machine gun loses the rate of fire. Firing from the second level at 20A4 on the German stack at DD6 with 12 firepower plus 3, stone house. 9 plus 3, 12, unsuccessful. Advancing fire phase. No actions. Rout phase. No actions. Advance phase. 2 squads from 20 DD5 to CC5. The last squad from 20 DD5 to DD4. Stacking from 20 DD6 to DD5. Half squad with flamethrower from 20 BB6 to BB5. 20 W7 under the trench at W6. 20 S7 to R6 where it will be able to recover the concealment marker. 20 R5 to R4. 20 Q7 to R6. To avoid overstacking in Hex 20 R6, one of the squads in Q7 moves under the bridge at Q6. Close combat phase. No close combat. The German units that are not in line of sight of the enemy and are in concealment terrain take the important concealment markers. And we are off to the Soviet phase of the fourth turn. Rally phase, Soviet fourth turn. Wind change, 9, no change in wind. Attempt to rally Soviet units in Hex 20 times 4 with the modifier -1, building. 7 -1, 6, the squad recovers morale. Attempt to rally in Hex 20 R3 with the modifier -1, building. 8 -1, 7, the squad recovers morale. Attempt to rally the German leader in 20 E5 with the modifiers +4, Dain, +1, auto-rally, -1, building. 9 +3, 12, the leader does not recover morale, and the Dain marker is removed. Attempt to rally the German leader in 20 BB6 with the modifiers -1, leader, -1, building. 7 -2, 5, the leader recovers morale. Attempt to recover the function of Soviet medium machine guns in 20 Z4. The machine guns do not recover their function. In Hex 20 BB6 we find 3 half squads, and we will evaluate, in the rulebook, the possibility of recombining these squads. Rule 1.32 Recombination. Any two H's in good order of the same nationality with an identical strength factor may automatically recombine as their only action in that rally phase into a squad of the same type and class at the start of any rally phase in which they occupy the same location and terrain with a good order leader. In this way, two German half squads in 20 BB6 recombine and form a squad 838. The same process is performed with two half squads in 20 DD5 and they become one squad 838. Attempt of delayed rally by the German leader in 20 FF6 with the modifier of -1, building. 2. The leader recovers morale. Prep fire phase. Firing of the Soviet stack in 20 R3 on the Germans in R4. The Soviet squad that was hidden waives this condition. The firing will be carried out with 12 firepower on the units under the concealment marker and 24 firepower on the units without this marker. The modifier will be +2, wooden house. 7 plus 2, 9. Normal morale check on the units under the concealment marker and to morale check on the units without the concealment marker. The two units under the concealment marker maintain their morale. One of the squads without the concealment marker has its morale broken. The units on the second level at 20A4 and Z4 fire on the Germans at BB5 with 24 firepower reduced by half because the target is under the concealment marker plus 2, wooden house. 4 plus 2, 6, to morale check. 8 plus 2, 10, the half squad has its morale broken. The Soviet units on levels 0 and 1 of Hex's 20A4 and Z4 form a mega fire group and attack the Germans at CC5 with 44 firepower reduced half because the target is under the concealment marker plus 2, wooden house. 7 plus 2, 9, 1 morale check and the Germans lose the concealment marker. 5 plus 1, 6, the first squad passes. 4 plus 1, 5, the second squad also passes the morale check. Movement phase. Stack in 20 times 4 moves to Z3. Leader 8-1 on the second level of 20Z4 to ground level in Z3. Leader 9-1 on the first level of 20A4 to Z3. Squad in 20V2 to T2 keeping the concealment marker. Defensive fire phase. German stack in 20R4 fires on the enemy in R3 with 16 firepower plus 2, wooden house, -1, leader. 8 plus 1, 9, 1 morale check. The Soviets are very lucky and none of these units have their morale broken and two squads whose dice result is double 1 will suffer the effects of the heat of battle. The modifier for the Soviets will be plus 2. 3 plus 2, 5. The first squad suffers the effect of battle hardening and becomes a squad 4-5-8. A Soviet leader is generated and there is a possible activation of the German sniper, which, for a change, Jim forgot to try to activate. 9 plus 2, 11. The second squad goes berserk. The German units in Hexes 20DD4 and CC5 form a fire group and attack the Soviets at ground level in A4 with 24 firepower and the modifier of plus 3. 5 plus 3, 8, to morale check. On the roll of the dice, two squads have their morale broken and squad 6 to 8 maintains its morale intact. Advancing fire phase. No actions. Rout phase. Half squad from 20 BB5 to BB6. Soviets in 20A4 to Z3. 20R4 moves to S7. Advance phase. The leader 8-0 and two squads from 20R3 to S4 and the Berserk squad, which cannot move in the advance phase, remains in the same hex. 20 T2 to T3. 20 CC2 to DD2. Close combat phase. German stacking in the trench at 20 W6 reclaims the concealment marker. Rally phase German 5th turn. Alright friends, at this point, at the end of the 4th turn, we will close this episode. During this phase, there were several activations of the heat of battle effect, with the creation of a hero for each faction. One of the German units became fanatical, while a Soviet squad had its quality increased, battle hardening, and another became berserk and will attack the Germans in the next movement phase. Another activity carried out in this episode was a more in-depth study of the transfer and recovery of support weapons, in addition to the recombination of half squads. The Germans have already consolidated their position in Building 20S6 and are moving the reserve units towards the Commissar's house, where the pioneer units are already preparing for the attack. The Soviets, in turn, have already moved a large part of their troops to Building 20Z3, where they will establish the last bastion of defense against the enemy. I hope to see you soon. Namaste. Rally phase, German phase of the 5th turn. Wind change, 6, no wind change. German units rally attempt. German unit auto-rally attempt in 20S7 with the modifiers of +1, auto-rally, +4, DAIM, -1, building. 6 +4, 1, without morale recovery. Unit rally attempt in 20BB6 with the modifiers of -1, leader, -1, building, +4, DAIM. 3 +2, 5, half squad recovers morale. Leader auto-rally attempt in 20E5. The question here is whether the hero can use his -1 modifier as a valid modifier to help units with broken morale to recover morale. Research in the rulebook showed that the leader's modifier cannot be used for this purpose, therefore the German leader's rally attempt will occur with the modifiers of +1, auto-rally, -1, building. 5. The leader recovers morale. Attempt to rally the squad in this hex with the modifiers -1, building, -2, leader. 11 -3, 8, and the squad recovers morale. Attempt to rally the Soviet squads in 20Z3 with the modifiers -1, leader, -1, building, +4, DAIM. 11 +2, 13, the first squad does not recover morale. 9 +2, 11, the second squad also fails the morale test and the DAIM marker is removed. Attempt to recover the medium machine guns on the second level of 20Z4. One of the machine guns recovers morale. Prep fire phase. German stack at 20E5 will fire on the Soviet squad at GG2 with 24 firepower reduced to 12 firepower, firing beyond the ideal range of the German squads, -2, leader, +2, trench. 10. Pin test check. 10. The Soviet squad is pinned. The German units at 20DD4 and CC5 will fire on the Soviets on the upper floor of A4 with 24 firepower +3, stone building. 10 +3, 13, it would be a pin test check. However, at this point, the fortress's modifier effect, +4, should prevail, and this shot would have no effect, but Jim considers it a pin test check, and one of the squads 6 to 8 becomes pinned. Firing by the German stack at 20R4 on R3 with 16 firepower +2, wooden house, -1, leader. 5 +1, 6, to morale check. 7 +2, 9, at this point we need to remember that the attacked squad is Berserk, and we will delve a little deeper into the special characteristics of Berserk squads. Of interest in this morale check, we see that the morale of Berserk units is raised to 10, which makes this shot ineffective. In addition, Berserk units have the amount of movement factors raised to 8, Berserk units never have their morale broken, suffering reduction by casualties in their place. These units never suffer covering, they only become pinned in rare situations. Rule A15.42, they cannot fire shots during the prep fire phase and must advance against an enemy-occupied hex in the movement phase. Movement phase. Squad under the concealment marker at DD5 moves to CC5 in assault movement. Since the Soviets do not react, the leader 9-1 also moves to 20 CC5, also in assault movement. The rest of the units in 20 DD5 move to DD4 in assault movement. German leader 8-0 and the half squad with the demolition charge under the concealment marker in 20 BB6 move to BB5 in assault movement. The squad carrying the flamethrower moves from 20 BB6 to A6 in assault movement. Two squads from 20 R6 move to S6 in assault movement. In this hex they come under attack from the Soviet stack in 20 S4 with 8 firepower halved due to targets being concealed, +1, orchard, +2, wooden house, -1, Soviet hero. 3 +2, 5, 1 morale check and possible activation of the German sniper. Both German squads have their morale broken. 5. The German sniper is not activated. Subsequent first fire with 4 firepower +2. 8 more to 10, unsuccessful. German leader from 20 R6 to S7. Squad in Ravine at 20 Q6 moves to R6 becoming CX in the process. In this move this squad should lose the concealment marker. Stacking at 20 Q9 moves towards XU8 via bridge at T8. In this movement these units lose the concealment marker. Stacking under the trench marker at 20 W6 passes outside the entrenchment in this same hex. German stacking at 20 FF6 moves to DD7. Defensive fire phase. Berserk unit at 20 R3 fires on R4 with 8 firepower +2, wooden house. 7 +2, 9, pin test check. The leader and one of the squads become pinned. Firing of the units in Hex 20A4 that form a fire group with all the units on the various levels of this hex. Firing will be with 25 firepower, reduced by half in the case of the leader and one of the squads that are concealed, +2, wooden house. 3 +2, 5, 2 morale checks for the leader and the squad that lose the concealment marker and a reduction due to casualties of one of the two units 838, which will also suffer 4 morale checks. In addition, there is the possibility of activating the German sniper. 9 +2, 11, the leader has his morale broken. 7 +2, 9, the first squad has his morale broken. Jim completely ignores the K/4 result, and both squads are subjected to the same 2 morale checks. The second squad breaks and the third becomes pinned, with the possibility of activating the Soviet sniper. 6. The German sniper is not activated. 4. The Soviet sniper is not activated. Units in 20Z4 will fire on the Germans in BB5 with a total of 38 firepower, reduced to 16 firepower because the target is hidden, +2, wooden house. 3 +2, 5, 3 morale checks and possible activation of the German sniper. 6 +3, 9, the leader breaks, and there is the possibility of activating the Soviet sniper. 10 +3, 13, the half squad also breaks. The Pioneers half squad has an ELR of 5 due to the scenario's special rules. 2. Smaller German sniper is activated and goes to attack the Soviet sniper who becomes pinned. Advancing fire phase. No actions. Rout phase. Units with broken morale in 20 CC5 to BB6. German units in 20 S6 to S7. Advance phase. 20 W6 to W5. 20 U8 to under trench in U7. Squad from 20 R6 to S6. 20 E5 to E4. 20 DD5 to CC5. Close combat phase. No actions. Rally phase Soviet turn 5. Wind change 6. No wind change. Soviet squads attempt to rally in 20Z3 with the modifier -1, leader, -1, building. Both squads recover morale. Germans attempt to rally in 20 BB6 with the modifiers -1, leader, -1, building, +4, D-aim. 8 + 2, 10, the leader does not recover morale. T6 with the modifiers -1, leader, -1, building, +4, D-aim. 5 + 2, 7, the German leader recovers morale. 5 + 2, 7, the first squad recovers morale. 9 + 2, 11, the second squad remains with broken morale. 8 + 2, 10, the third squad remains with broken morale. Attempt to recover the machine gun function in 20Z4. 5. The function is not recovered. Attempt to rally the German units in 20S7 with the modifiers of -1, building, -1, leader, and +4 for the two squads under the D-aim marker. 9 - 2, 7, the first squad recovers morale. 8 + 2, 10, the second squad does not recover morale. 3 + 2, 5, the third squad recovers morale. Prep fire phase. Heavy machine gun fire at 20 GG2 on the German stack in E4 with 8 firepower +3, stone house. 8 + 3, 11, unsuccessfully, and the machine gun maintains the rate of fire. Firing from the stack in 20 DD2 they fire under DD4 with 8 firepower -1, leader, +1, woods. 11, unsuccessfully. Firing from the Soviet units at various levels in 20 A4 on the Germans in DD4 with 16 firepower +1, woods, for the squad without the concealment marker and 8 firepower +1 for the squads under the concealment marker. 4 + 1, 5, 3 morale check for the squad without the concealment marker and 2 morale check for the units under the concealment marker. 11 + 3, 14, the first squad breaks. 9 + 2, 11, the second squad breaks. 1, the third squad passes, and as the heat of battle effect is triggered. The modifier will be -1 because the German unit is elite. 6 - 1, 5, the squad becomes fanatic, because it is elite, and a German hero is created. Soviet units fire at various levels in 20Z4 that form a fire group and fire on the German stack in W5 with 30 firepower reduced to 12, hidden target, which Jim mistakenly considers as 16 firepower +3, stone house. 7 + 3, 10, normal morale check, and the Germans lose the concealment marker, and the medium machine gun maintains the rate of fire. 8. The leader should be pinned, but Jim mistakenly considers it as having broken morale. 5. The first squad passes. 7. The second squad has its morale broken wrongly, it should become pinned. 2. The third squad suffers the heat of battle effect. 4. Without modifiers, this unit has an improvement in quality becoming elite, battle hardening, and another German hero is created. Soviet stack fires at 20 S4 on the Germans at R4 with 16 firepower +2, wooden house, -1, Soviet leader. 5 + 1, 6, to morale check. 7 plus 2, 9, the leader has his morale broken. 4 plus 2, 6, the first squad passes. 9 plus 2, 11, the second squad has his morale broken in a bad result for the Germans. Movement phase. Squad 458 from 20Z3 to the lower floor of A4. Leader 9-1 at 20Z3 to the lower floor of A4. Squad at 20T3 to S4. Berserk squad at 20R3 moves and enters the hex with the Germans at R4. In this hex it receives an attack by the German squad with 12 firepower with the modifiers of +2, wooden house, -1, FFNAM. 6 plus 1, 7, 1 morale check, possible Soviet sniper activation. 8 plus 1, 9, unsuccessful. Subsequent first fire with 6 firepower +1. 3 plus 1, 4, 2 morale check. 7 plus 2, 9, again unsuccessful. 3. No Soviet sniper activation. Defensive fire phase. Squad with flamethrower at 20R6 fires at the enemy on the lower floor of A4 with 12 unmodified firepower against the squads and 6 unmodified firepower against the hidden leader. 7. In the 12 firepower column it is 1 morale check. 7 in the 6 firepower column, it is a normal morale check and the Soviet leader loses the concealment marker. 11. The leader has broken morale. 7 plus 1, 8. The first squad has broken morale. 4 plus 1, 5. The second squad passes. 5 plus 1, 6. The third squad should also pass the morale check but Jim considers it pinned. German units in 20cc5 and DD4 form a fire group and fire on the Soviets in the wooden house in DD2. Firing will be with 16 firepower +2, wooden house, -1, hero modifier. 5 plus 1, 6, 2 morale check. 6 plus 2, 7, the leader becomes pinned. 8 plus 2, 10, the first squad breaks. 6 plus 2, 8, the second squad also has morale broken. Firing from 20E4 on GG2 with 24 firepower with the modifiers of -2, German leader, +2, trench. 5. K/4 the Soviet squad suffers a reduction due to casualties and becomes a half squad which will be subjected to a 4 morale check. 10 plus 4, 14, the half squad has its morale broken above the ELR and becomes a conscript. Firing from 20W5 on the units on the lower floor of Z4 with 8 firepower and modifiers of +4, fortress, -1, German hero. 9 plus 3, 12, unsuccessful. Advancing fire phase. The Berserk unit will fire on the units with which it is in close combat. The firing will be 12 firepower, firing from the same hex, reduced by half, advancing fire phase, +2, wooden house. 4 plus 2, 6 Berserk units never suffer covering, is 1 morale check in the 6 firepower column. 11 plus 1, 12, the squad breaks. 5 plus 1, 6, the leader pass. 5 plus 1, 6, second squad passes. Rout phase. German units in 20R4 are in close combat and cannot rout. Soviet units with broken morale in 20Z4 move to Z3. German units with broken morale in 20DD4 to DD5. Units with broken morale in 20W5 move under the trench in V6. Half squad in 20GG2 moves to E1 abandoning the heavy machine gun. Units with broken morale in 20DD2 to Z2. Advance phase. Soviet hero accompanied by 2 squads in 20S4 move to R4 entering close combat. The rest of the units in 20S4 move to R3. Squad 447 from 20Z3 to Z4. Close combat phase. Let's analyze the situation in 20R4. It will not be necessary to evaluate the possibility of an ambush because the Berserk squad has entered this hex in their movement phase, which eliminates the possibility of an ambush. The Soviets will attack 13 factors against the Germans, who will defend themselves with 9 factors in a 1-to-1 ratio. The modifiers of the dice result will be -2, Germans with broken morale, -1, hero modifier, and the Soviets need 8 or less to affect the Germans. The Germans cannot attack because their morale is broken. 7-3, 4. All German units are summarily eliminated, certainly a huge victory for the Soviet forces, who will be able to advance unhindered on the objective building in 20S6. The Soviet squad loses the Berserk situation after eliminating the Germans. The Soviet units in 20R3 recover the concealment marker. German units in 20BB5 recover the concealment marker. The units in 20S7 recover the concealment marker. Finally, we go to the German phase of the 6th turn. At this moment, we are crossing half of the proposed turns for this scenario. German forces approach building 20Z3 and organize to advance on the Soviet stronghold. In preparation for this attack, the Germans have already eliminated the dangerous Soviet heavy machine gun position at 20 GG2. This machine gun was a huge threat against the German units that would necessarily have to cross the road between 20 GG2 and Y7 to effectively attack the Soviet stronghold. The Soviet elimination at 20 DD2 was also an important event that will facilitate the advance on the objective. The setback suffered by the German forces at 20R4, with the loss of a leader and 2 squads, was a huge blow to the German claims regarding the objective building, S6, greatly weakening the German position that will have to divert resources towards this position to strengthen its defenses against the enemy forces approaching from R4. The Soviets, as previously mentioned, have concentrated their defenses at Fortress 20Z3, with a total of 17 squads and 2 excellent leaders in this area, and promise enormous resistance to the German efforts. The great risk in this concentration there is the possibility of some lucky shots from the Germans that break a considerable part of the crowded Soviet units, with special emphasis on the dangerous demolition charges that can turn an entire hex of the fortress into rubble, eliminating many of the Soviet units in the process. Another important event this turn was the occurrence of several battle heat events with the creation of heroes for both factions, in addition to the battle hardening effect with the improvement in the quality of the units involved, which should prove to be impactful in the next turns. Very well friends, let's end this episode, and I hope to count on your audience in the 6th round of this exciting battle. Rally phase of the German phase of the 6th turn. Wind change, 9, no wind change. German units rally attempt. 1 squad attempted to auto-rally on 20 DD5 with modifiers of +4, D-aim, +1, auto-rally, -1, building. 4 + 4, 8, squad recovers morale. Units rally attempt on 20 BB6 with modifiers of -1, leader, -1, building. 11 - 2, 9, leader 9 - 1 recovers morale. 6 - 2, 4, squad recovers morale. 8 - 2, 6, Half squad recovers morale. German leaders autorally attempt on 20v6 with modifiers of +4, d-aim, +1, autorally, -1, building. 4 + 4, 8, leader recovers morale. Squad rally attempt on the same day hex with the modifier +2. 5 + 2, 7, the squad recovers morale. Attempt to rally the squad in 20s7 with the modifier -2, leader, building. 6 - 2, 4, the squad recovers morale with 100% success of the rallies attempted in this German rally. Now it's the Soviets' turn. Attempt to rally the units in 20z3 with the modifiers -1, leader, -1, building, +4, d-aim. 8 + 2, 10, the leader fails to recover morale. 7 + 2, 9, the squad fails to recover morale. Attempt to recover the functioning of the medium machine gun requiring 2 or less to recover. 2. The machine gun recovers its function. Prep fire phase. The Germans decide to opt for a more conservative approach and will move the units near the Soviet fortress to positions where they can recover the concealment marker from these units. Movement phase. Leader and squad in 20s7 for S6 in assault movement. In this hex they suffer an attack and from the Soviets at 20r3 with 12 firepower reduced to half, hidden target, with the modifier of +2, wooden house, -1, hero. 8 + 1, 9, without success. Squad moves from 20s7 to r6. German stacking at 20u7 moves to w6, 20w5 to w4, 20v6 to w4, 20a6 to bb6. Squad from 20cc5 to dd5, 20dd4 to e5. Squad at 20e4 will attempt a smoke grenade at dd3. 6, without success, and this unit ends its activity in this movement phase. Second squad will attempt the same feat. 5, without success. The last squad accompanied by the leader 10-2 will attempt the same maneuver. 2, success and the smoke screen is deposited at 20dd3 and the stacking continues to e3. In this hex they are attacked by a fire group of Soviet units on the first and second levels of 20a4. The attack will be with 12 firepower +2, smoke -1, FFN. 7 + 1, 8, 1 morale check. 6 + 1, 7, the leader passes and there is a possibility of activating the Soviet sniper. 7 - 1, 6, the squad also passes. At this point the Germans could perform an overrun on the Soviet leader at 20e2 but choose not to do so to avoid going through the necessary normal test check which could activate the booby trap attack. The German stack continues to hex 20dd1 forcing the Soviet half squad to stay under the d-aim marker. This stack thought about recovering the Soviet machine gun at 20gg2 but gave up because this Soviet machine gun already has a break exponent of 11 and when used by enemy forces, this exponent would be lowered to 9 for malfunction and elimination of 10. Defensive fire phase. Fire from Soviet units in 20z4 and lower deck of A4 on Germans in CC5 with 44 firepower reduced to 20, hidden target, +2, wooden house. 5 + 2, 7, 2 morale checks and Germans lose concealment marker. One of the leaders is pinned and the other has morale broken beyond the possibility of Soviet sniper activation. 6. Soviet sniper is not activated. Advancing fire phase. No actions. Rout phase. Leader from 20cc5 to DD5. Soviets in 20E1 to upper floor of FF2. Advance phase. German units under concealment marker in 20BB6 to A6. Stacking in 20E4 to E5. 20 DD1 to DD2 entering close combat. Stacking in 20 W6 to W5. Close combat phase. Hex 20 DD2 ambush check. Germans -2 leader. Soviets no modifiers. Germans 1 -2 -1. Soviets 3 ambush occurs. Germans will attack with a force of 9 against one of the Soviets in a ratio of 8 to 1 -3 ambush and leader, which practically guarantees the elimination of the Soviets. 9 -3 6. The Soviet leader is eliminated. The units in 20 BB6 meet the necessary prerequisites and receive the concealment marker. The exception is the squad with broken morale. 2 squads in 20 DD5 receive the concealment marker. The units in 20 E5 recover the concealment marker. The squad in 20 S7 receives this marker. The German stack in 20 W4 also recovers this marker. The Soviet units in 20 Z3 also recover the concealment marker. Rally phase Soviet turn 6. Wind change, no wind change. Attempt at auto-rally by Soviet units in 20 Z2 with the modifiers of +2, auto-rally, -1, wooden house. 3. The Soviet squad recovers morale. Attempt at rally by Soviet units in 20 Z3 with the modifiers of -1, leader, -1, building. 12. The Soviet leader is injured and becomes a 7-0 leader. 9-2, 7. The squad recovers morale. Soviet leader's injury severity assessment. 6. The leader is eliminated and the units in this stack that have morale lower than the morale of the eliminated leader must undergo the leader loss morale check. In this case, the morale of the eliminated leader was 7 after the injury and is equal to the morale of the squads in this hex and lower than the morale of the other leader in this same hex. Therefore, this stack will not suffer the LLMC. Half squad rally attempt in 20 BB6 with the modifiers of -1, leader, -1, building. 8-2, 6. The half squad recovers morale. German leader rally attempt in 20 DD5 with the modifiers of +4, the aim, +1, auto-rally, -1, building. 7 +4, 11. The leader does not recover morale. Prep fire phase. Firing from the stack at various levels of 20 Z4 on A6 with 40 firepower reduced to 20 because the target is under the concealment marker. The modifier will be +2, wooden house. 8 +2, 10, 1 morale check. The German units lose the concealment marker and the machine guns maintain the firing rate. 11 +1, 12, the leader's morale is broken. 7 +1, 8, the squad is pinned. 6 +1, 7, the half squad passes and there is a possibility of activating the Soviet sniper. 1. The larger Soviet sniper is activated. This sniper will attack a random unit in the German stack at 20 W5. The German leader is eliminated and one of the squads has its morale broken. With the elimination of the German leader, with a morale of 8, All units with a morale lower than 8 must undergo the morale test for the loss of the leader with the modifier of +1. It is the modifier of the leader with the inverted sign. 7 + 1, 8. The first squad has broken morale. 8 + 1, 9. The second squad has broken morale. Fire from stack at 20 A4 on German stack at A6 with 30 firepower +2 wooden house. 7 + 2, 9, 1 morale check. 9 + 1, 10. German leader breaks again and is eliminated. 9 + 1, 10. Squad breaks. 7 + 1, 8. Half squad should be pinned but Jim considers morale broken. Movement phase. 20Z3 to A3 in assault movement. Irregular movement of squad 6 to 8 on lower deck from 20Z4 to Z3. This unit had fired in pre-fire phase and could not fire again. Leader 9-1 at 20 A4 moves to Z2. Hero accompanied by 2 squads moves from 20 R4 to R3. The remaining squad moves to the gully at 20 Q4. Defensive fire phase. No actions. Advancing fire phase. No actions. Rout phase. German squad with broken morale at 20 A6 moves to DD5. Half squad at 20 A6 moves to BB6. Advance phase. No actions. Close combat phase. Soviet units at 20 R3 recover morale. Jim places a concealment marker on the squad in the gully at 20 Q4 in an irregular manner. The gully is not a concealment terrain. On the other hand, this squad is not in line of sight of any enemy unit in good order and is less than 16 hexes from the enemy units. On the table of concealment we see that this Soviet squad fits into condition K where this unit can acquire the concealment marker after getting a result less than or equal to 5 when rolling one die with the modifier of +3, which is the value of the squad size. The leader 9-1 and one of the squads in 20Z to recover the concealment marker. Alright friends, with the start of the rally phase of the German phase of the 7th turn, let's end this episode. In this turn, the strategic situation has changed very little, with the Germans trying to slowly approach the Soviet fortress, while the Soviets concentrate most of their available forces in this area. The German forces have not yet managed to organize themselves properly and are repeatedly struck down every time they approach the Soviet fortress by the wooden houses. We hope that in this next turn, the Germans can make a concentrated effort and approach with all available units within the Soviet firing line, diluting the firepower across several targets. The Germans have already lost 4 leaders and 4.5 squads, while the Soviets have lost simply half of this, which shows a frightening trend if this trend is confirmed. An interesting point is the fact that the objective building 20S6, which seemed extremely safe in German hands, is potentially threatened by the Soviet forces in 20R3 and Q4. With only 4 turns left in this battle, all the pressure is on the German forces, which have ahead of them the Herculean task of occupying the fortress 20Z4 by eliminating all the Soviet units that are there. Garrison while maintaining undisputed dominance of the S6 objective building. I hope to see you soon. Eat the super rich. Rally phase of the German phase of the 7th turn. Wind change. 2. The wind will change. There is currently no wind and it will start to blow, light breeze. Let's roll a die to see the position to which the wind will blow. 4. The wind will blow towards the south. German squads attempt at an auto-rally in 20W4 with the modifiers of +1, auto-rally, -1, building. 3 + 4, 7, the squad recovers morale. Half squads attempt at a rally in 20BB6 with the modifiers of -2, leader, building, +4, de-aim. 7 + 2, 9, the half squad does not recover morale. German leaders attempt at an auto-rally in 20DD5 with the modifiers of +1, auto-rally, -1, building. 7, the leader recovers morale. Squads attempt at a rally in this same hex with the modifiers -1 modifier, building. 7 - 1, 6, squad recovers morale. Squad attempts to rally under de-aim marker in this hex with modifiers +4, de-aim, -1, building. 10 + 3, 13, squad does not recover morale and de-aim marker is removed. Soviet squad attempts to rally at 20Z2 with modifiers -1, leader, -1, building. 8 - 2, 6, squad recovers morale. Prep fire phase. German stack with machine guns at 20W5 will fire on Soviet units on upper floor of Z4 with 20 firepower -1, leader, +4, fortress. 9 + 3, 12, pin test check and machine guns lose rate of fire. 10, first squad is pinned. 8, second squad is also pinned. Movement phase. Squad from 20S7 to S6. Leader German from 20S6 to S7. Stack consisting of units under the concealment marker at 20BB6 move to A6 in assault movement. In this hex they suffer an attack from the Soviets on the various floors of 20A4 with a total of 34 firepower reduced to 16, target under the concealment marker, +2, wooden house. 7 + 2, 9, 1 morale check and the Germans lose the concealment marker. 5 + 1, 6, the leader passes. 7 + 1, 8, -1, leader, 7, the squad passes. Subsequent first fire with a shot of 16 firepower +2, wooden house. 9 + 2, 11, pin test check. By scenario definition, the Soviets have level A booby traps all over map 20. Let's check if these traps have been activated with this pin test check. By the rules, level A booby traps are activated with the result of the dice of 11 or 12 in pin test check, therefore, the booby traps are not activated. The German units pass and there is a possible activation of the Soviet sniper. 3, 5, the Soviet sniper is not activated. Firing from 20Z4 on the same German stack with 24 firepower +2, wooden house. 5 + 2, 7, to morale check and the machine guns maintain the rate of fire. 6 + 2, 8, the leader passes with the possible activation of the Soviet sniper. 5 + 2, 7, the squad also passes. 4, the Soviet sniper is not activated. Subsequent first fire with 12 firepower +2, wooden house. 10 + 2, 12, without success. Squad in 20BB6 moves to BB5 in assault movement. 2 squads under the concealment marker in 20DD5 for CC5. Hero accompanies the 2 fanatic squads in 20DD5 moving to DD to losing concealment marker. Hero with squad at 20DD5 to DD4. Defensive fire phase. No actions. Advancing fire phase. Flamethrower fire carried by leader at 20A6 fires on Soviets on upper deck of A4 with 12 firepower. 4. 3 morale check. 8 plus 3, 11, and the first squad breaks above the ELR and is reduced to conscript. 7 plus 3, 10, the second squad breaks. Squad with flamethrowers at 20A6 fires on the Soviet units on the lower floor of A4 with 12 firepower without modifiers. 4, 8. This attack should occur in the 6 firepower column because the unit would suffer covering and therefore it would be a pin test check, but Jim considers it with 1 morale check. 6 plus 1, 7, the first squad is pinged. 7 plus 1, 8, the second squad breaks. Fire group with the squads at 20 BB5, CC5 and DD4 with a total of 24 firepower under the hero's command against the Soviet units on the upper floor of A4. The modifiers will be -1, hero, +4, fortress. 5 plus 3, 8, 3 morale check. 10 plus 3, 13, the first squad loses morale above the ELR and becomes 5 to 7 first class. 4 plus 3, 7, second squad passes. 8 plus 3, 11, third squad breaks. Firing from the German stack at 20 DD2 against the Soviets on the lower floor of Hex A4 with 12 firepower. The modifiers will be -2, leader, +4, fortress, +2 to hexes with orchards. 2 plus 4, 6 to morale check. 8 plus 2, 10, first squad breaks. 8 plus 2, 10, second squad also breaks. Rout phase. The Soviet forces try to organize themselves so as not to cause overstacking in the fortress hexes, which becomes extremely difficult since the number of units with broken morale in the last phase passed was overwhelming. Advance phase. Stacking at 20 DD2 moves to CC2. Leader 9-1 from 20 DD2 to W4. Stacking with the medium and heavy machine guns from 20 W5 to X4. Hero from 20 W4 to X4. Close combat phase. Half squad at 20 BB6 recovers concealment marker. Leader 9-1 and squad at 20 W4 recover concealment. Attempt to recover concealment of Soviet squad at 20 Q4 requiring 2 or less on the result of a die to recover this marker. 5. Unit remains without concealment marker. Rally phase Soviet turn 7. Wind change 6. No wind change. Soviet squad rally attempt. Soviet squad in 20Z3 with modifiers of +1, auto rally, -1, building, +4, de-aim. 7 plus 4, 11, morale is not restored. Squad rally attempt in 20Z3 with modifiers of -1, leader, -1, building, +4, de-aim. 9 plus 2, 11, morale is not restored, and the de-aim marker is removed. Squad rally attempt in 20Z2 with modifiers of -1, leader, -1, building, +4, de-aim. 6 plus 2, 8, squad recovers morale. German squad rally attempt in 20 W4 with modifiers of -1, leader, -1, building. Both German squads recover morale. German squad rally attempt in 20 BB6 with modifiers of -1, leader, -1, building. 8 -2, 6, half squad recovers morale. German leaders rally attempt in 20 DD5 with the -1 modifier building. 3-1, 2. The leader recovers morale with 100% approval from the Germans. Prep fire phase. Firing from the Soviet forces that form a fire group in hexes 20Z4 and A4 and fire on the Germans in A6 with a total of 20 firepower plus 2, wooden house. The -1 modifier should be added to this firing related to the fact that the units in this hex are carrying flamethrowers. 10 plus 2, 12. Pin test check with the possible activation of a booby trap if the Germans obtain a dice result greater than or equal to 11. The German squad is pinned with the result of 11 and the booby trap is activated where one of the German units, chosen at random, would be reduced by casualties where the squad would be reduced to half squad and the leader would suffer an injury that could prove fatal. All this in theory, because Jim does not carry out the rules device and the game continues. This is one of the disadvantages of solo play, where there is no counterpart to point out the possible mistakes and deviations that usually happen given the complexity and length of the rules. Movement phase. Soviet stacking at 20 A3 to the lower floor of A4 in assault movement keeping the concealment marker. Squad 6 to 8 at 20 Z3 moves to the lower floor of A4 also in assault movement. Squad at 20 Z3 to the upper floor of Z4. Squad at 20 Z3 to the lower floor of A3 in assault movement. Squad 5 to 7 at 20 Z3 to the lower floor of Z4 in assault movement. Squad at 20 R3 to the gully in Q4 while the squad in Q4 moves to R3. In this phase, Jim should probably move the leaders to hexes where there are Soviet units with broken morale, but he prefers to keep them still in the rear. Defensive fire phase. Firing of the flamethrower carried by leader 9-1 in 20 A6 who will fire on the Soviet units on the lower floor of A4 with 12 firepower. 7. 1 morale check. 3 plus 1, 4. The first squad passes and there is a possible activation of the German sniper. 6 plus 1, 7. The second squad is pinned. 3. The German sniper is not activated. Fire of the second flamethrower with 6 firepower, squad pinned, without modifiers. 8. Pin test check. 9. The Soviet squad is pinned. Fire group formed by the German units in 20 A6, squad pinned, BB5, CC5 and DD4 on the stack under the concealment marker on the lower floor in A4 with a total of 44 firepower reduced by half, concealed target. This attack will be commanded by the hero in 20 DD4 with the modifiers of -1, hero, +4, fortress. 5 plus 3, 8, 2 morale checks with the Soviets losing the concealment marker. Half Squad 2 to 8 and Squad 6 to 8 should suffer morale breakdown, but Jim considers it only pin. Firing of the stack at 20 CC2 on the Soviet stack at A3 with 24 firepower, with 12 firepower on the squad under the concealment marker, -2, leader, +4, fortress, +1, orchard. 3 plus 3, 6 4 morale check, 2 morale checks for the squad under the concealment marker, with an excellent result for the Germans. At this moment, Jim realizes the mistake made in the previous move and changes the squad's situation and half squad at 20 A4 from pinned to morale broken. 9 plus 4, 13. Squad 6 to 8 breaks above the ELR having its quality reduced and becomes a first-class squad 5 to 7. 9 plus 2, 11. The second squad breaks and Jim forgets to attack the squad with morale broken with 4 morale checks in a turn full of inattentions. Firing from the machine gun stack in 20 times 4 on the Soviets on the lower floor of Z4 with a total of 20 firepower -1, hero, +4, fortress. 4 + 3, 7, 2 morale checks, and the machine guns maintain their rate of fire. The two Soviet squads go from pinned to morale broken, with the second squad having its quality reduced to conscript 4 to 6 for having morale broken above the ELR. Firing with the machine gun fire yielding on the Soviet squad on the intermediate floor of 20A4 with 16 firepower -1, leader, +4, fortress. 7 + 3, 10, normal morale check, and the machine guns lose their rate of fire. 5. The squad goes. Advancing fire phase. No actions. Rout phase. Squad in 20Z4 to Z3. Squad at 20A4 to Z3. Squad at 20A4 to Z2. Squad at A3 to Z3. Advance phase. Squad on the middle floor of 20Z4 to the lower floor. Squad on the middle floor of 20A4 to the lower floor. Stacking from 20Q4 to Q5. Close combat phase. Squad at 20R3 recovers the concealment marker. Stack at 20W4 recovers the concealment marker. Half squad at 20BB5 recovers the concealment marker. Squad at 20DD5 recovers the concealment marker. Rally phase German turn 8. Alright friends, at the end of the 7th turn, and with only 3 turns left to end this battle, it is time for the Germans to advance decisively on the Soviet fortress in 20Z4 to try to win the fight. During this turn, the Germans managed to form an effective fire base and neutralized several Soviet squads that are trying to garrison the weakened positions, mainly on the lower floors of 20A4 and Z4 hexes that are vital to maintaining the integrity of the defensive perimeter of this fortress, as the Germans can only penetrate this location by causing a breach in its thick walls or reducing the garrison of these hexes to just a half squad. The Soviet forces are beginning to suffer the effects of the large concentration of forces positioned within the fortress, which is finding it difficult to move its units within this position in order to avoid exceeding the limit of 3 squad equivalents per hex, and if the number of Soviet units with broken morale increases, which seems to be a trend, this could lead to the collapse of this Soviet position. At the other end of the map, in the building in 20S7, the Soviet forces are approaching where they will attempt a desperate action against numerically superior forces and occupying privileged defensive positions, and if they achieve the unlikely success, they could win the battle. I hope to see you in the 8th turn. See you later. Rally phase of the German phase of the 8th turn. Wind change, 4, no wind change. Soviet squads attempt to rally in 20Z2 with the modifiers of +4, aim, -1, leader, -1, building. 9 + 2, 11, the first squad does not recover morale. 8 + 2, 10, the second squad is unsuccessful. 5 + 2, 7, the third squad is successful and recovers morale. Squads attempt to rally in 20Z3 with the modifiers of -1, leader, -1, building, +4, aim. 6 + 2, 8, the first squad passes. 6 + 2, 8, and the second squad does not pass. 6 + 2, 8, and the third squad also does not pass. Since the Germans do not have any units with broken morale, we will move on to the prep fire phase. Shooting from the leader with the flamethrower in 20A6, they fire on the Soviets on the floor lower level of 20A4 with 12 firepower without modifiers. 5. To morale check. 10 plus 2, 12, first squad breaks. 8 plus 2, 10, second squad also breaks. Squad with other flamethrower fires on squad on lower level of 20Z4 with 12 firepower without modifiers. 9. Normal morale check. 8. Squad should be pinned but Jim ignores it. Stack fire with machine guns with 20 firepower -1, hero, +4, fortress, against squad 6 to 8 on lower level of 20A4. 9 plus 3, 12, pin test check and machine guns lose rate of fire. 8. Squad passes. Movement phase. Attempt to launch smoke grenade from 20 BB5 at BB4. 2. Success. Smoke is deposited at 20 BB4. Stack at 20 cc to moves to BB3 spending to MF. In this attack, the squad suffers an attack on the middle floor of 20A4 with 8 firepower -1, FF name. 7 -1, 6, 1 morale check. 10 plus 1, 11, the leader's morale is broken. 7 plus 1, 8, the first squad should be pinned but Jim considers it as morale broken. He did not consider the movement through the orchard as not being movement in open terrain considering the attack as to morale checks. 5 plus 2, 7, the hero passes. 4 plus 2, 6, the second squad passes. 5 plus 2, 7, the third squad passes. The units that passed the morale check should undergo a leader loss test check because the leader 10-2 has his morale broken. The fanatic squad that passed the morale check spends the last 2 MF to which it is entitled and places a demolition charge on 20A4. With the expenditure of these 2 MF, this unit suffers a subsequent fire with 4 firepower -1, FF name. 5 -1, 4, 1 morale check. 9 plus 1, 10, the hero suffers a reduction due to casualties and becomes hero 138. 4 plus 1, 5, the first squad passes. 8 plus 1, 9, the second squad, being fanatical, has its morale increased by 1, morale of 9, and should be pinned but Jim again ignores this fact and considers the morale as broken and, therefore, the demolition charge is not considered as placed. 20 DD5 for BB2. In this hex it suffers an attack from 20Z2 with 6 firepower -1, FF name, -1, Soviet leader. 8 -2, 6, 1 morale check. 5 plus 1, 6, the leader passes. 9 plus 1, 10, the squad has its morale broken. 20 CC5 for BB4 in assault movement. At this moment the Soviet squad opts to launch a final protective fire, where the same dice result serves as an attack against the enemy and as a normal morale check against the squad that fired the shot. This shot will be with 4 firepower -1, FFNAM, +2, smoke. 7 plus 1, 8, without success, and the Soviet squad is pinned. The German squad deposits the demolition charge in 20A4 spending to MF. In this hex it suffers a new final protective fire with 2 firepower -1, FFNAM, +2, smoke. 3 plus 1, 4, 1 morale check and possible activation of the German sniper. 3 plus 1, 4, the leader passes. 9 plus 1, 10, the second squad breaks. 3 plus 1, 4, the second squad passes. 5. The German sniper is not activated. Since the German squad spent 2 mf during the placement of the demolition charge, the Soviets will fire another final protective fire with 2 firepower plus 1. 7 plus 1, 8, without success, and the Soviet squad remains pinned. Squad 468 in 20W4 moves 2x to losing the concealment marker. In this hex it suffers an attack from 20Z4 with 4 firepower minus 2, FFMO, FFNAM, minus 1, leader. 4 minus 3, 1, killed in action, the German squad is eliminated. Squad from 20W4 to Y3. In this hex suffers an attack from 20Z4 with 4 firepower minus 3. 9 minus 3, 6, pin test check. 6, the squad passes and there is a possible activation of the Soviet sniper. DAIM markers are deposited on units with broken morale in adjacent hexes. 6, the German sniper is not activated. Squad in 20W4 moves to Y2. Leader 9 minus 1 from 20W4 to X3 in assault movement. Half squad from 20BB6 to A5. In this hex suffers an attack from 20Z4 with 12 firepower minus 2, FFNAM, FFMO. 12 minus 2, 10, with the double to the squad can no longer attack and ceases its participation in this phase. Firing from the upper deck of 20Z4 with 8 firepower minus 2. 9 minus 2, 7, 1 morale check. 3 plus 1, 4, the half squad passes. Illegal squad movement in 20BB5 to A5, he had already spent his movement when throwing the smoke grenade in 20BB4. In this hex he suffers an attack by residual fire with 2 firepower minus 2, FFNAM, FFMO. 7 minus 2, 5, normal morale check. 10, the squad breaks. Half squad from 20BB6 becomes CX and moves to Z5. In this hex he suffers an attack by the Soviet squad on the upper floor of 20Z4 with 4 firepower minus 2, FFNAM, FFMO. 6 minus 2, 4, 1 morale check. 5 plus 1, 6, unsuccessful. Final protective fire from squad 6 to 8 on the lower floor of 20Z4 with 6 firepower minus 2. 6 minus 2, 4, 2 morale check. 6 plus 2, 8, the half squad is pinned and there is a possible activation of the Soviet sniper. 4, the Soviet sniper is not activated. 20 BB6 to BB5. Stack up at 20 DD4 becomes CX and moves to R2. Squad from 20 S6 to R6. Defensive fire phase. No actions. Advancing fire phase. Fire group at 20 BB3 and BB4 fires on the Soviet squad on the middle floor of 20 A4. With 8 firepower minus 1, hero, plus 4, fortress. 7 plus 3, 10, unsuccessful. Fire group at 20 Y2 and Y3 fires on the Soviets on the lower floor of 20 Z2. With 12 firepower, point blank shot, plus 4, fortress. 5 plus 4, 9, normal morale check. 6, leader passes. 7, squad is pinned. First squad with broken morale passes. 6, second squad with broken morale also passes. Rout phase. Stack up with leader 8-0 at 20 BB2 to CC2. Units broken at 20 BB3 to CC2. 20 BB4 to BB5. 20 A5 to BB5. Now we will begin the difficult relocation of the Soviet units with broken morale within the fortress. The biggest difficulty is the fact that hexes Z4, Z3 and Z2 do not have inherent stairs, and movement to the upper floors can only occur from hexes 20 A4 and A3. With the German siege with several units in good order adjacent to the fortress, the free movement of the Soviets is prevented, since these units cannot remain adjacent to German units in good order or head to hexes adjacent to German units in good order. At this moment Jim remembers the demolition charge deposited at 20 A4 that will carry out an attack on this hex with 30 firepower plus 4, fortress. 6 plus 4, 10, to morale check and possible activation of the Soviet sniper. 11 plus 2, 13, the Soviet squad breaks again above the ELR and becomes a half squad with lower quality. 5 plus 2, 7, the second squad pass. Back to the rout phase. Squad on the lower floor at 20 A3 to the upper floor of this hex and then to the upper floor of Z3. Squad on the lower floor at 20 A4 to the intermediate floor and then to the intermediate floor at Z4. Units on the lower floor at 20Z to find themselves without movement possibilities, and these two squads are eliminated. Squads on the lower floor of 20Z3 move to A4, adjacent to the German units at A5 and BB4 and move to the upper floors, ending their movement on the upper floor of Z3. Advance phase. 20 BB3 to A3 penetrating the fortress. 20 A2 to A3. 20 A5 to A4 penetrating another hex of the fortress. 20 BB4 to A4. 20 Y3 to X3. 20 Y2 to X1. Close combat phase. No actions. Rally phase Soviet turn 8. Rally phase Soviet turn 8. Wind change. 3. No wind change. Soviet squad auto-rally attempt on the upper level of 20 A4 with modifiers of -1, building, +1, auto-rally. 7. Squad recovers morale. German squad's rally attempt on 20 BB5 with modifiers of +4, the aim, -1, leader, -1, building. 6 plus 2, 8, first squad recovers morale. 9 plus 2, 11, second squad fails. Leader rally attempt on 20 CC2 with modifiers of -1, building, +4, the aim. 4 plus 3, 7, leader recovers morale. Squad's rally attempt on this hex with modifiers of -2, leader, -4, the aim, -1, building. 8 plus 1, 9, first squad fails to recover morale. 3 more 1, 4, second squad recovers morale. Attempt to recover the MMGs on the upper floor of 20Z4, requiring 5 or less to regain possession of the MMGs. 4, 6, one of the squads regains possession of the MMG. Prep fire phase. Soviet units in 20Z2 and Z3 form a fire group and attack the German stack in 20 A3 with a total of 20 firepower plus 3, stone building, -1, leaders. 9 plus 2, 11, normal morale check. 4, first hero passes. 8, second hero is pinned. 8, first squad is pinned. 8, third squad is pinned. 10, third squad has morale broken. Units on the upper floor in 20Z4 fire on the Germans in A6 with 12 firepower plus 2 wooden house. 3 plus 2, 5, to morale checks, the MMG maintains its rate of fire and there is a possible sniper activation German. 7 plus 2, 9, leader is pinned. 10 plus 2, 12, squad morale is broken. 5. German sniper is not activated. Firing with the medium machine gun rate of fire on the half squad at 20 R5 with 8 firepower without modifiers. 5. To morale check and the medium machine gun loses rate of fire. 11 plus 2, 13, squad morale is broken. Movement phase. Stack up at 20 Q5 moves to R4 in assault movement. 20 R3 to S4. Defensive fire phase. German units at hexes 20 R3 and R4 fire on the Soviet stack up at Z2 with 30 firepower -1, hero, +3, stone house, +1, CX. Here Jim makes another mistake and qualifies this fortress as a factory in which internal shots receive the modifier of +1 and not +3 as occurs in the stone house's stone. This way this shot will wrongly consider as modifiers +1, shot inside factory, +1, CX, -1, hero. 11 plus 1, 12, 1 morale check. 3 plus 1, 4, the leader passes and there is a possible activation of the German sniper. 10 plus 1, 11, the squad should break but Jim only considers it as pinged. 2. The minor German sniper is activated and will attack the units on the lower floor of 20 R4. Since these units are all broken, there is no effect. German units in 20 Y3 and Y4 form a fire group and fire on the Soviets in Z2 with 24 firepower +4, fortress, -1, hero. 6 plus 3, 9, to morale check and possible activation of the Soviet sniper and the machine guns maintain the rate of fire. 8 plus 2, 10, the leader's morale is broken. 7 plus 2, 9, the squad breaks. 1. The major Soviet sniper is activated. This sniper will attack one of the German units at 20 R3 to be chosen randomly from the stack in this hex. One of the heroes is eliminated and one of the squads has its morale broken. Machine gun fire at 20 times 4 uses the rate of fire on the Soviet units on the upper level of Z4. This fire is illegal because the machine gun cover arc is directed to the 20 times 3 Y4 axis and could not change the fire to the Y4 Y5 axis. In any case, the fire will be with 16 firepower +4, fortress, -1, hero. 5 plus 3, 8, 1 morale check, and the machine guns lose their rate of fire. 6 plus 1, 7, the first squad is pinged. 7 plus 1, 8, the squad with the machine gun has its morale broken. 10 plus 1, 11, the conscript squad breaks again and becomes half squad. Advancing fire phase. The Soviet units at 20 R4 and S4 form a fire group and fire on the German stack at R6 with 16 firepower reduced to 8, advancing fire and reduced again to 4, hidden target, with the modifier of +4, wooden house, +2, orchard, -1, hero. 7 plus 5, 12, unsuccessful. Rout phase. Soviet unit on the middle floor at 20 R4 to the upper floor. The Soviet stack at 20 Z2 moves in low crawl to Z1. German squad with the flamethrower at 20 R6 to BB5. Half squad at 20 Z5 to R6. One of the squads with broken morale at 20 R3 to CC2. The other squad heads to 20 DD2 to avoid the stack at CC2. Advance phase. 20 R4 to R3 with the objective of recovering the concealment marker. Close combat phase. The Soviet units at 20 R3 recover the concealment marker. At this point, at the end of the 8th turn, we will close this episode. The Soviets in the fortress have completely succumbed and have fallen victim to two phenomena that occurred simultaneously. The first is directly related to the massive firepower of the German units which, with the help of the German hero modifiers, largely neutralized the defensive effects of the fortress wall protection, culminating in the elimination of practically the entire Soviet defensive apparatus, leaving only a 447 squad on the upper floor of 20Z4 in good order, in possession of a medium machine gun, in addition to a squad that is hidden on the upper floor of Z2. With the penetration of German units into the fortress, the Soviet defensive power is substantially reduced and everything indicates that the Germans will gain control and will eliminate all the Soviet units positioned there, satisfying the victory conditions for this building. The second relevant factor for the current state of affairs is the fact that there is a high concentration of Soviet forces in the fortress, in addition to the fact that there are only two hexes that allow access to the upper floors of this building, which are hexes 20 R4 and R3, which have staircases. These factors caused enormous difficulty in repositioning the Soviet units, preventing that many of these cannot move without breaking the rules of the rout phase and are consequently eliminated. Thus, at the end of the 8th turn, the number of casualties has reversed, with the greatest weight falling on the Soviets, who now have a total of 25 casualties against only 18 for the Germans, who, theoretically, should suffer the majority of casualties since they are the attackers in this scenario. Thus, the greatest, or only, Soviet hope is the attack on Building 20S6, strongly defended by German units. Very well friends, let's say goodbye and wait for the next episode of this battle. Rally phase of the German phase of the 9th turn. Wind change, 5, no wind change. German squad attempted auto rally in 20 DD2 with the modifiers of +1, auto rally, +4, DAIM, -1, building. 10 +4, 14, the squad does not recover morale, and the DAIM marker is removed. German units attempted rally in 20 CC2 with the modifiers of -2, leader, -1, building, +4 for one of the squads under the DAIM marker. 8 -3, 5, the first squad recovers morale. 9 +1, 10, the second squad does not recover morale. German units attempted rally in 20 BB5 with the modifiers of -1, leader, -1, building, +4 for the unit under the DAIM marker. 8 -2, 6, the first squad recovers morale. 4 +2, 6, the second squad also recovers morale. German squad rally attempt at 20 R6 with modifiers of +4, DAIM, -1, leader, -1, building. 7 +2, 9, squad does not recover morale. Soviet leader rally attempt at 20 Z1 with modifier of +1, auto rally. 8 +4, 12, leader does not recover morale. Attempt to regain possession of the medium machine gun on the upper floor at 20 R4. 2 squad recovers the machine gun. Prep fire phase. German stacks at 20 Y3 and Y4 form a super fire group and will fire on the Soviets at Z3 with 24 firepower -1, hero, +4, fortress. 4 + 3, 7, 3 morale checks and the heavy machine gun maintains its rate of fire. 4 + 3, 7, leader passes. 7 + 3, 10, squad morale is broken. Leader with flamethrower fires on the units on the upper floor of 20Z4 with 12 firepower without modifiers. 5 to morale check. 9 + 2, 11, the squad with the machine gun has its morale broken. The other units on the upper floor of 20A4 should also be attacked by the 2 morale check. Firing from the German stack on the lower floor of 20A4 on the Soviet squad on the middle floor with 20 firepower +3, stone house. 11 + 3, 14, unsuccessful. Firing from the Germans in 20A3 on the Soviet units in Z3 with 16 firepower +3, stone house, -1, hero. 8 + 2, 10, normal morale check that Jim considers as a pen test check. 5. The leader passes, and the squad is not tested because its morale is already broken. Movement phase. Leader 8-0 and a squad 8-3-8 from 20 CC2 to the upper floor of A3 causing adjacent Soviet units to receive the DM marker again. Squad at 20 CC2 moves alone to the middle floor of A3. In this hex it suffers an attack from the Soviet squad at the middle floor of 20A4 with 8 firepower +3, stone house, -1, FFNAM. 8 + 2, 10, unsuccessful. Squad 8-3 at 20 BB5 to the lower floor of A4. Squad with the flamethrower at 20 BB5 moves with the leader 8-1 wounded to BB4 in assault movement. In this hex it suffers a subsequent first fire from the middle floor of 20A4 with 4 firepower -1, FFMO. 3-1, 2. It is a reduction in casualties of 1 unit to be chosen at random followed by 2 morale checks. The squad is reduced to half squad. 7 + 2, 9, the leader breaks. 6 + 2, 8, the half squad is pinned and there is a possible activation of the Soviet sniper. 5, the Soviet sniper is not activated. Remaining squad at 20 BB5 to A5 in assault movement. In this hex it suffers a final protective fire from the Soviet squad at A4 with 4 firepower -1, FFMO. 8, without success and the Soviet squad is pinned. German squad at 20 × 1 moves to Z2 leaving the Soviet units at Z1 under the DM marker. The German units in the objective building at 20S6 perform the skulking maneuver and withdraw from the line of sight of the Soviets in the hexes in front of them. Defensive fire phase. No actions. Advancing fire phase. German stack on the upper floor of 20A3 fires on the broken Soviet units in Z4 with 4 firepower +3, stone building. 5 + 3, 8, normal morale check. Rout phase. Leader 8-1 from 20 BB4 to A6. Soviet units in 20Z1 to Z0. The unit with broken morale in 20Z3 has no possibility of legal movement and this squad is eliminated. The units in the upper floor of 20A4 also suffer the same fate. Advance phase. German stack on the upper floor of 20A3 to the upper floor of Z2 where it finds the hidden Soviet unit that is placed on the board as concealed, entering close combat. Illegal movement of unit on lower floor to upper floor of 20Z2 and enters close combat. This unit should only move to the middle floor of this hex. Hero accompanied by squad on lower floor of 20A3 advances to Z3 and enters close combat with Soviet leader 8-1. Squad on lower floor of 20A4 moves to middle floor of this hex and enters close combat with pinned Soviet squad. Squad on middle floor of 20A3 to upper floor. Stacking in 20 times 4 to W4. 20 times 3 to W3. Stacking on upper floor of 20S7 to upper floor of R6. Stacking on lower floor of 20S7 to R6. Close combat phase. Ambush assessment for units engaged in close combat in Hex 20Z2. Modifiers will be -2 for Soviets, concealed squad, and no modifier for Germans. Germans 2. Soviets 4-2, 2, no ambush. The Germans will attack with a force of 13, reduced to 6 because the Soviets are concealed against 4 Soviet defense factors with a ratio of 3-2, requiring 6 or less to affect the Soviets. The Soviets will attack only the German squad 4-6-7 with a ratio of 1-1, requiring 5 or less to affect the German squad. Germans 4, the Soviet squad is eliminated. Since there was no ambush, the Soviets could attack the Germans. 12. There is no effect on the Germans and the Soviets are removed from the board. Ambush assessment for units involved in close combat in Hex 20Z3. The modifiers will be -1 for the Soviets, with no modifiers for the Germans. Germans 3. Soviets 1-1, 0, no ambush. The Germans will attack with a total of 9 factors against one of the Soviets with a ratio of 8-1, associated with the hero's -1 modifier, needing 12 or less to affect the Soviets. The Soviets will attack only the German hero with a ratio of 1-1. They will not be able to use the leader's -1 modifier because he is alone, needing at least 5 to affect the German hero. 10-1, 9, the Soviet leader is eliminated. Ambush assessment for units involved in close combat at 20A4 with the -1 modifier for the German die result because the Soviet squad is pinned. Germans 6-1, 5. Soviets 2, there is no ambush. The Germans will attack with a force of 20 against 4 of the Soviets in a ratio of 4-1 in the table, needing at least 9 to affect the Soviets. The Soviets will attack the Germans with an attack force of 2 pinned against the German half squad with a 1-2 ratio requiring at least 4 to affect the German half squad. 1-1-2, the Soviets will be eliminated, and the Germans can withdraw from close combat avoiding the Soviet attack using Rule A11.22, infiltration. However, Jim does not use this prerogative of the Germans and continues with the Soviet attack. 8. The Germans are not affected and take full control of the Commissar's house. The Soviets do not have any units in good order in this building, and at this point they are winning this battle as they have control of the 2 objective buildings. The Soviet hope will reside in the performance of their units in hexes 20S4 and R3 in successfully attacking the Germans entrenched in building S6. Rally phase Soviet 9th turn. Wind change 7, no wind changes. Attempt to auto-rally by the Soviet unit on the intermediate floor of 20Z4. The modifiers will be -1, building, +1, auto-rally. 8. The squad recovers morale. It is important to remember that although it is not explicitly stated on the board, all Soviet units on the intermediate floor of this hex are under the DAIM marker because they are in a hex adjacent to enemy units in good order at 20A4, and Jim will correct this error later. Attempt to rally by the Soviet leader at 20Z0 with the modifiers -1, building, +1, auto-rally, +4, DAIM. 8 + 4, 12, the leader does not recover morale. Attempt to rally by the German leader at 20A6 with the modifiers -1, leader, -1, building, +4, DAIM. 7 + 2, 9, the German leader does not recover morale. German squad rally attempt in 20cc2 with the modifiers -1, building, -2, leader. 4 - 3, 1, the squad recovers morale. Prep fire phase. At this point Jim remembers that the Soviet squad that recovered morale in Hex 20Z4 did not actually recover morale because they are under the DAIM marker that adds another 4 to the result of the dice in the morale check. And the final result is 12, and this squad remains with broken morale. No new actions. Movement phase. Soviet unit in 20S4 makes a dash movement towards Hex U5. At 20T4 receives an attack from the German stack in W3 with 7 firepower reduced by half by the dash movement by the Soviets to firepower -3, FFMO, FFNAM, leader. 10 - 3, 7, unsuccessful, and the Soviets end their movement in the intended hex and 1 residual fire is deposited in 20T4. Stack at 20R3 moves to R4 in assault movement. In this hex it takes a shot from the machine gun team at 20W4 with 20 firepower +2, hexes with orchards, +2, wooden house, -1, hero. Two, 4, +3, 7, to morale check, and the machine guns maintain the rate of fire with the Soviet stack losing the concealment marker. 10 + 2, 12, the leader has his morale broken above the ELR and becomes a 7-0 leader. 6 + 2, 8, the leader passes. 5 + 2, 7, the first squad passes. 7 + 2, 9, the second squad has its morale broken. 5 + 2, 7, the third squad is pinned, which Jim ignores. New shot using the machine gun rate of fire with 16 firepower +3. 3 + 3, 6, to morale check. 7 + 2, 9, the hero is pinned. 4 + 2, 6, the first squad passes. 8 + 2, 10, the second squad breaks. 12, the Soviet leader is eliminated. 10 + 2, 12, the third squad breaks again and becomes a half squad. New shot using the machine gun's rate of fire with 16 firepower +3. 6 + 3, 9, 1 morale check, and the machine guns maintain the rate of fire with possible activation of the Soviet sniper. 3 + 1, 4, the hero passes, and there is a possible activation of the German sniper. 10 + 1, 11, the first squad has its morale broken. 10 + 1, 11, the first half squad breaks again and is eliminated. 7 + 1, 8, the second squad breaks again and becomes a half squad. 5, 4, neither the Soviet nor the German sniper are activated. The remaining units will be subjected to a normal morale check for the elimination of the Soviet leader. The exception would be the hero whose morale is higher than the leader's morale lost. 8, the hero passes. 5, the squad passes. 10, The half squad does not pass and is eliminated. New shot using the machine gun's rate of fire with 16 firepower plus 3. 6 plus 3, 9. 1 morale check with the machine gun's rate of fire maintained and the possible activation of the Soviet sniper. 12. The hero is eliminated. 5 plus 1, 6. The squad passes. New shot using the machine gun's rate of fire with 16 firepower plus 3. This is the 5th consecutive shot of the machine guns on the poor Soviet stack. 11 plus 3, 14, no effect, and finally the machine guns lose their rate of fire. German stacking on both levels of Hex 20 R6 gives up the concealment marker and forms a fire group with 20 firepower and fires on the Soviet squad in R4 with the modifier of plus 3, orchard and wooden house. 4 plus 3, 7, to morale check. 10 plus 2, 12, the squad breaks again and becomes a half squad, and since it broke above the ELR it should have its quality reduced. Defensive fire phase. Firing from the flamethrower on the Soviets on the middle floor of Z4 with 12 firepower without modifiers. 6. To morale check with possible activation of the Soviet sniper. 10 plus 2, 12. The first squad breaks and becomes a half squad and should have its quality reduced for having broken above the ELR. 3 plus 2, 5. The second squad passes and there is a possible activation of the German sniper. 1, heat of battle. The modifiers will be plus 2, Soviet, plus 1, squad with broken morale. 10 plus 3, 13, and the squad should surrender. However, since no quarter is in effect, the squad is eliminated. 6. The Soviet sniper is not activated. 1. The major German sniper is activated. 5. 1. The hex to be attacked will be Hex 20Z4. 6. 2. The unit to be attacked is on the upper floor. The squad is attacked and should become a half squad, but Jim eliminates it. The attacked half squad is eliminated. Firing from the stack on the middle floor of 20 R4 fires on the middle floor of Z4 with 19 firepower, which should be doubled to 38, since the target is in an adjacent hex, which Jim ignores and considers the shot as 16 firepower plus 4, fortress. 6 plus 4, 10, normal morale check with possible activation of the Soviet sniper. 4. First squad passes. 7. Second squad also passes. 5. Soviet sniper is not activated. Advancing fire phase. No actions. Rout phase. Soviet units on middle floor from 20Z4 to upper floor. 20 R4 to R3. Advance phase. No actions. Close combat phase. Soviet unit at 20 U5 recaptures concealment marker. Very well friends, at this point, at the end of the 9th turn, the Soviets admit the overwhelming power of the German troops and offer their inevitable surrender. In this battle, some conditions greatly favored the German forces, and the main one can be attributed to the poor disposition of the Soviet units in the fortress of the Commissar's house, with an overcrowding and precarious access to the upper floors, only to staircases, which determined the elimination of many units due to failure in the rout. The Soviet losses were immense, and as we can see in the casualties box, they lost 52 victory points in casualties while the German attackers lost only 19. With the lessons learned in this match, We will take this experience to the repetition of this battle with the scenario of the same name, but which will take place on the superb map of the historical module Red Factories. At this point, Jim says goodbye and hopes to see you again in this new next work. See you later, Namaste.